4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to what is a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and, of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter X at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. We got a whole lot to get to today. We will be joined by Vernon Davis coming up at the top of the hour. I am a little slow to start the show today just because I'm adjusting to this new chair that they got here. Now, they still have all the other chairs in the studio, but I saw the new chair, and I was like, you know what? Let me try it out. Now, this new chair is a little bit higher up, Stu, but I will tell you, I feel like there's more support in these new chairs, and I feel a little bit more elevated. So I think we're going to try out the new chairs. And if I like the new chairs, and if you tell me the new chairs go well, then maybe we'll stick with it. If not, then we'll go back to the old chairs. But I feel as if right now, and it's comfortable, but I'm feeling right now as if I am sitting on like 4 textbooks. I feel really high up. I feel like some of the people probably in our YouTube chat, if I'm being honest right now. If you know, you know. So we'll get the constructive criticism during the first commercial break. But enough with the chairs here, because let's be real. You don't tune into this show on a football Monday to hear 2 minutes about chairs. You know, some of you may. I'm sure we'll get a lot of phone calls today. 855-212-4227. What type of chair is it? You know, is it a comfortable chair? You know, I work from home. Should I get this chair for my desk? But you tune in on a football Monday to hear football. All right? So let's get to it. And let me just start out right out of the gate and praise 2 teams out of the AFC. One team, I told you so. The other team, I'm really impressed by, but I still don't know how we should talk about them. So let's start with the Steelers, because the Bills are the obvious. The Buffalo Bills, I've been singing their praises all throughout the offseason, and your boy told you that Josh Allen was going to win the MVP, and I stand by that. And I thought Buffalo, come playoff time, could be viewed as one of the top contenders to come out of the AFC. So it's nice that Buffalo gets the victory up against Kansas City yesterday. I don't think many people realize this leading into the game. I did. Going into the game just in the regular season only, the Bills were on a 3-game win streak up against the Kansas City Chiefs. After yesterday, they have now defeated the Chiefs the last 4 times in the regular season. So you want to praise Josh Allen, you want to praise Sean McDermott, and that defense has been really good this year. But then you have it in the back of your mind and you go, I've seen this many times before. I've seen us give the victory parade and kind of have the Bills take their national bows after a regular season victory. But until they get the job done up against the Chiefs in the postseason, and it feels like inevitable that inevitably we'll see these 2 teams match up again, I don't want to put kind of the cart before the horse on this one and now say the Bills are definitely going to the Super Bowl. But if it's not Kansas City, coming out of the AFC, then who else do you go with? If it's not Kansas City, I would then think it would be Buffalo. I do think right now the Buffalo Bills are the second best team in the AFC. And I think heading into the weekend, the conversation would be if it's not Kansas City, then it would either be the Bills or it would be the Ravens. Well, after this weekend, and you see what the Steelers do where they defeat the Baltimore Ravens 18-16 in a slobber knocker of a football game, if we're just being honest. That was like not a pretty football game. That was not a clean football game. That is your traditional AFC North showdown where it comes down to a field goal or less, and there's a lot of sloppy plays. And what the heck happened to Justin Tucker? I have a theory here, Stu, and I wonder if you could identify what the theory is with Justin Tucker, and there's a specific reason why I'm bringing you on to see if you could identify this theory. That's the hint. I'm judging that you're not going to be able to get it, but you specifically, if you could tap inside my crazy brain, I think you would be able to be the expert on why Justin Tucker is, I'm not going to say a bum, but Justin Tucker, why yesterday you could argue he cost the Baltimore Ravens the game up against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So when you first said that, I thought you were going to bring up what happened before they played the Chiefs in the title game with Mahomes and Kelsey, kind of like get off my area type of thing. That was my first reaction, but I'm guessing it has something to do with the Raiders.
Has nothing to do with the Raiders.
Okay, so is it the first thing I said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trust your gut instinct.
How about that?
That is Taylor Swift karma, and you are a Swiftie. Stu the Swiftie. You mess around, Justin Tucker, even though I will say I thought Mahomes and Kelsey were in the wrong. But you mess around with Patrick Mahomes and you mess around with Travis Kelsey, you don't want to mess with those Swifties. You don't want to mess with the Taylor Swift karma. And Taylor Swift, she runs the National Football League. Forget that clown. Forget that punk, Roger Goodell. The real leader, the queen of the National Football League is Taylor Swift. She should be commissioner. So you mess around with Taylor Swift's mans and Taylor Swift's quarterback. Justin Tucker, all of a sudden, used to never miss kicks. He starts missing kicks left and right. And he missed 2 field goals yesterday. And Stu, I'm not great at math, but the final score was a 2-point game. So if Justin Tucker would have just done his job, or if he wouldn't have just been a colossal douche and messed with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey, even though I thought he was in the right after the AFC Championship game, but I'm on one today. I'm in a rhythm right now, so we're not going to let facts get in the way. Heck, we don't let facts get in the way anymore in this country. So who cares? Fake news this, fake news that. I'm all for it if I'm being honest. But I really do believe Justin Tucker and messing with the Taylor Swift's boyfriend and Taylor Swift's boyfriend's quarterback is what did him in yesterday. And that was karma paying, after and showing a few months later. So the Ravens, they lose. But like all seriously, you look at the Ravens, and I think you now have questions about the Ravens. I know it wasn't on display yesterday, but that defense is just not a Super Bowl championship caliber defense. And Lamar Jackson, even though he's a 2-time MVP, stop with this nonsense that he's winning the MVP this year. He's not going to do so. Josh Allen will win the MVP over Lamar Jackson. But when you look at Lamar Jackson, this was one of those games, and this is coming from a huge, and I mean a huge, Lamar Jackson defender. Sometimes people call me the Lamar Jackson apologist on the Infinity Sports Network. Lamar Jackson didn't do enough yesterday. Passing of the football was not good enough. And Lamar Jackson wasn't elite, even though he was usually always elite running the football. They only ran the ball 4 times yesterday with Lamar Jackson. And that's what I don't get. It's like you look back at the Ravens. What are the 2 issues that were pertaining to last year's AFC Championship game outside of what Justin Tucker did before the game? The 2 issues was the play calling was absolutely horrendous, and they tried to win with a certain brand. They tried to win and kind of rub your face in it and try to win with an arrogance that we're going to throw, get away from the run game, get away from the short passing game. It was a stupid game plan by Munkin and company last year in the AFC title game. And also, it's the quarterback in the big spots coming up small. And I used to not be a believer of that notion. I didn't think there was a big enough sample size with Lamar Jackson. But after last year when they were beating the brakes and beating the door and the snot out of every single team in the league, and you had the Super Bowl road going through and traveling through Baltimore to play one good half up against the Texans and then basically no show on offense up against the Kansas City Chiefs when the Chiefs were like begging, pretty please, put us out of our misery. Yeah, there is now a fair conversation to have about Lamar Jackson in the big games. And here's why it's so difficult to talk about the Steelers. Because when I talk about recent history of the Ravens, and I'm a fair man, I think you have to be fair about the other team. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have been good. They haven't been great in a while, but they've been good for over a decade. And since 2016, they have not won a playoff game. 2016 was the last time they won a playoff game that regular season. So the 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 seasons, they did not win a playoff game. So I have these conflicting thoughts because I look at the Steelers and I'm like, oh, wow, look at their defense. It's unbelievable. And I've always been a big fan of Najee Harris, and I think he's been disrespected in Pittsburgh. You know, Jalen Warren's a solid running back. George Pickens, as long as he can control his emotions and keep them in check, he's really good. And you got Pat Freiermuth, who's a solid tight end as well. So, like, there's a lot of pieces when you look at the Steelers, you go, okay, I'm in. And then Russell Wilson, he's fine. Like, it's not the Russ of old. It's not Russ being great. He's a competent, serviceable quarterback. But I'm still struggling with saying the Steelers are going to get to the Super Bowl or the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl. Like, when I say Kansas City's going to win the Super Bowl, there's a ding that goes off in my head. When I say the Buffalo Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, ding, like, I could see it. The Detroit Lions, ding, I could see it. The Philadelphia Eagles, even though I got some trust issues with Nick Sirianni, ding, I could see it. But then there's like some other teams, the Green Bay Packers, Can't see it anymore, even though they beat the Bears yesterday and they were lucky to beat the Bears. You take a look at a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, there's just certain teams that even if you want to say it, and any Tom, Dick, and Harry could get in front of the microphone and go, the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. And then there's an emotion that overtakes your body where you know, okay, you really do believe that, or if you don't. So I'm not going to get on here today with my pom-poms out and basically go, yeah, let's go Pittsburgh, black and yellow, black and yellow. Like, that's not happening for me. They're a really good team. They could physically beat you to death. They could grind you out in a football game. But can I see them? In all likelihood, they're not going to get the bye. There's still a chance they could get the bye. But I don't think they're going to get the bye. So when a team hasn't won a playoff game since the 2016 season, can I see them going and winning a wild card game, a divisional round game, and a conference championship game to get to the Super Bowl? I can't. But I can't say they're not a Super Bowl contender. Like last week, 2 weeks ago, you said Pittsburgh Steelers. I said pretender. I've seen this story before. The Steelers, after beating the Ravens, have elevated themselves into Super Bowl contending status. Now, just because you're a Super Bowl contender, there's a lot of contenders in this world, doesn't mean that I believe you're going to the Super Bowl. And I still do not believe, I can't be any more crystal clear about it. I do not believe the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. But if you look at the AFC, obviously Kansas City's a Super Bowl contender. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills are a Super Bowl contender. The Ravens now I have my questions about. Like, Lamar Jackson's great. Derrick Henry's great. The defense, no bueno. John Harbaugh got outcoached yesterday by Mike Tomlin, even though Harbaugh's a really good coach in this league. And then there's still the play calling on offense and how they're trying to win going back to last year's AFC Championship game and the inevitable conversation of Lamar Jackson and his performances in these big games. But if you're going to tell me that the Ravens are a Super Bowl contender, how do you tell me that the Steelers aren't a Super Bowl contender? So even though I believe the Steelers are a Super Bowl contender, I could still also say, but I'm not picking them to go to the Super Bowl. And now, when you look at the AFC, yesterday was an awesome day because the Ravens take a hit, the Steelers get elevated in the national discourse, and then also, about damn time, the Kansas City Chiefs go down. Because that's a team for the last few weeks, as great as their defense has been, they have been begging for someone to beat them. Just like how last year in the playoffs, they were begging for someone to beat them, and they weren't able to do so. And Josh Allen yesterday I know it's only in the regular season, but I made this analogy heading into the year. We need Josh Allen to have his Peyton Manning moment, where you look at early on Brady and Manning, it was all Brady and it wasn't even close. And Brady at that time already won 3 Super Bowl championships. And then finally in 2006, even though it's a game that still haunts me, in 2006 when the Patriots had a big lead at halftime of the AFC Championship game after it was Asante Samuel who ran one back to the house for a score and picked off Manning, I'm like, oh, they're going to do it again. And that was the real Super Bowl that year because the Bears are waiting 2 weeks later with Rex Grossman. Even though they had Devin Hester return that opening kick in the Super Bowl against Adam Vinatieri, we knew that the Bears had no chance to go win that Super Bowl. But the Colts made an epic comeback. And that's what Josh Allen needs to do. They need to, this year, be the team that's coming out of the AFC, and they need to stick it to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And it was a good start yesterday. All right? You know, they've won now 4 straight regular season games up against the Bills, but I'm not going to sit here and say right now that they'll definitely beat them again if they play again in the postseason. Because we've seen this script, we've seen this narrative before, we've seen this story before where the Bills get the great regular season victory, but then they can't do so in the postseason. But I'll tell you, Josh Allen was surgical. He was electric. He was awesome yesterday. And when that game got to 16-14, they needed a touchdown drive. Josh Allen got it. And then when Kansas City quickly answers back, they needed another touchdown drive. They couldn't settle for the field goal. And I loved the Stones yesterday on Sean McDermott going for it on 4th and 2, and his quarterback paid off in a big way. You know, that risk, his quarterback said, thank you. I'm going to take it to the house for a 26-yard rushing touchdown. So a really fun day of football in the AFC yesterday where the Steelers have staked their claim and asserted themselves as a Super Bowl contender. The Ravens will now be questioned, even though they're still going to be really, really good. Buffalo shows you that they could beat Kansas City once again, but now the question still is out there, can they get it done in the postseason? And now we don't have to sit here for the next few weeks and say, okay, when is Kansas City going to lose? Because there's no way they should have been undefeated before yesterday, but they were. And if they would have won that game yesterday, they would have beat the Panthers. They would have beat the Raiders. Chargers would be an intriguing game. Browns they would beat. The Texans, a little bit intriguing. Steelers would have been intriguing. And then the Broncos, I'll give credit to Sean Payton and Bo Nix. That's another team that's starting to impress me too. And I was critical of Sean. I was critical, not really of Bo. I just didn't think he was a franchise guy. But what they've been able to do to start off this season has been very impressive, and we're approaching Thanksgiving. So I thought that was a very good day of AFC football with a lot of takes to come on out of it. So where are you at with the Ravens? Where are you at with the Steelers? Do you view the Pittsburgh Steelers as a team that could get to the Super Bowl? And are you believing that this year will be different for Buffalo, where they could beat not only Kansas City in the regular season, but then get the job done in the postseason this go-around? 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, finally, for one player in college football this year, he elected to show up. I'll give you my 3 college football takes next. Sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks could be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of shields, guards, and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at Depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. What an eventful weekend that it was. I actually thought the college football, and I always say this, whenever you go into a college football weekend and you're like, it could be an underwhelming weekend, it always delivers. And there were so many takes to come out of the college football weekend that we'll get to in just a second. But the NFL was really solid yesterday. I thought a lot of the games were close. I had like 7 or 8 of my buddies over my apartment yesterday. We did one of those Friendsgivings. So we started things out with some pigs in the blankets. We had some charcuterie. Then we just did it easy after that. We got some chips. So we had some salsa. We had some queso as well. And then we ordered probably like 100 or 150 wings. A lot of wings. And we had a Parmesan garlic. We had a hot, and then we had a barbecue as well. And then a buddy of mine brought over rainbow cookies and cannolis. So it was a very good night of eating, except I had one little problem. One little problem still. So I got a brand new rug in my living room.
Okay.
Brand new rug. It was not that expensive. It was actually pretty cheap. I told one of my friends how much it cost, and he goes, "Really? It's only that much? It's only like $50 the rug." It looks like, though, like a 400, 500. I don't know how much rugs cost, but it looks like a nice, fancy, schmancy rug. So I told all my friends, I go, guys, just redid the apartment, right? We took down a few walls, got a nice new paint job, everything. I go, just don't spill anything. You know, everyone's drinking, enjoying themselves. I go, just try not to spill anything. The entire day went through. 1 o'clock window, 4 o'clock window, and then once after the 4 o'clock games ended, you know, everyone said, I got to go back. So everyone left after that. And I'm doing a little cleanup afterwards. It's not a lot to clean up, like if I'm being fair. You know, I had to take whatever leftover wings they were, put a few in the air fry, had a little dinner. The rest I just ended up throwing out because I didn't want wings the rest of this week. You know, the desserts were all gone. You know, put the bag clips on the chips, put the lids on top of the salsa cans and all that. And I lit a candle in my apartment at like 7 o'clock. I lit a candle and didn't think much of it. And I'm cleaning up the table. You know, one of the tables that I have. And I forgot I lit the candle. And the candle flies right off the table onto the brand new rug. Now, it didn't burn a hole through the rug, but the wax shot right out of the candle all over the rug. So as I'm getting ready, and let's just say, you know, I was enjoying myself during the day. So I may have not been in the best state of mind, but I wasn't like sloshed or anything. I was having a little fun, right? Hanging with the boys. I start immediately YouTubing as I'm getting ready for the Sunday night football game on NBC between the Bengals and the Chargers. How do you get wax out of clean up wax when you spill it on a rug? So you take an ice cube, and then it said, I got to scrape it with the spoon, and I'm sitting there, and there's so much wax coming off this rug. And then eventually said, if you have stain remover, spray stain remover, and then do the process over again. So I'm sitting there, and it probably took 3 or 4, I guess you could say reps of this, until there was no more wax that was coming off the carpeting and then blotted out the carpeting. And I woke up today, everything was dry and everything was good. You would have no clue that a full candle basically just erupted as if it was a volcano onto my rug. But I was like, I was a good person, right? I had all my friends over, had a good weekend, organized this whole thing. No one spilled. And then, boom, this idiot knocks over a candle, and it just went all over the brand new carpet. So I was able to get through that. Anyway, let's get to the college football takes. Good Sunday of football. I was at the UFC fight on Saturday, which I didn't. Someone said yesterday they thought I was sick on Sunday morning football. I said, you sound sick on Sunday morning football. I go, no, I didn't get home till 4 a.m. after the fights. And I got up 7:30, something like that. So I was like on maybe 3 hours and 30 minutes of sleep at most. So maybe I was sounding a little bit like down and out yesterday. I didn't think so. I thought my energy was pretty damn good on the show. But, everyone's sitting there and they monitor every single word that you say. So I went to UFC on Saturday night. What a scene that was. The fights were okay. John Jones and Stipe was really damn cool. And what a spinning back kick by John Jones to take out Stipe Miocic. I'll get into more of that later. And now we'll see if he's going to end up fighting Tom Aspinall or Alex Pereira. But I got to ask you this, Stu, because I told you I was low-key, just having a mellow Friday night, knew it was going to be a busy weekend, didn't really want to do anything. And what did I tell you on Friday? That I wanted to fall asleep before the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight. What did you end up watching the fight, just wondering?
Yes. Well, I tried to watch the fight.
What'd you think of Tyson's ass cheeks?
That was very interesting when I was kind of, in and out before the fight. It was on, but I was glued to it. And then that
you
definitely
were glued
got
to
my
his
attention.
Ass cheeks? Oh.
Yeah, that got my attention, definitely. And then, the fight was the fight. Yeah.
I saw the ladies fight. That was a pretty good fight. And I saw that everyone was bitching and complaining about Netflix. Did you have any Netflix problems?
Oh, plenty. Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of buffering.
I didn't have any Netflix problems, but I'll tell you, whoever was running Sunday Ticket yesterday, at Red Zone on Sunday Ticket, I think they hired the people from the Tyson-Jake Paul fight to run the Sunday Ticket and Red Zone. And Maggie even tweeted this out. So it wasn't just me. And it was like, oh, there must be something wrong with my brand new TVs and all that. No. This was a YouTube TV Sunday Ticket Red Zone issue yesterday. That out of nowhere, they just took Ravens Steelers off for 15 minutes. So it blacked out on everyone's account for 15 minutes. And then Red Zone, I have one older TV, but not that, like within 3 years, to the left of my wall, and then I have a brand new, nice, really new TV right in the center. The one that I put the Red Zone on yesterday, it keeps on like cutting in and out and being choppy. And I go, oh, is like a cord loose or something? I'm resetting the TV. And now you could look on the comments. And it's like, when are they going to fix this stupid Red Zone? It was in and out for a lot of people yesterday. So what a disgrace yesterday Red Zone was and Sunday Ticket was. And then the Netflix streaming I heard was a disaster. I didn't have any issues, but I'll tell you this, Stu. I had a wish, and it came true. And I told everyone the wish, and it still came true. I fell asleep. I fell asleep before the Tyson-Paul fight, and I'm so happy I did because I'm not a sucker. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a moron and a dope. Sometimes I am, but for this one, I wasn't. I knew Jake Paul was going to win, and I knew that it was going to be just a cash grab and an absolute gimmick. And that's what it ended up being between Mike Tyson and also Jake Paul as well. So I guess I didn't miss much. But I went back and I saw a little bit of it. And it seemed after early on when Mike Tyson knew he wasn't going to win, Jake Paul was like, okay, champ, I'm not going to knock you out or try to knock you out. I'm just going to carry you so you get to the end of the fight. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. Eric in Oregon is on the line, and he has something about the wax that was in my carpet. Eric, what's happening?
Hey, Zach. I used to clean carpets, and when we would come across wax on carpets, we would get an iron, like you iron your clothes with, turn it up high, and get a wet rag, put the wet rag on the iron, and put it on the wax, and it lifts right up.
Yeah, so I saw that was one of the things, Eric, that they recommended. Here's a hot take or something that I don't think will surprise a lot of people. I do not have an
iron your clothes.
I don't have an iron. I don't have an iron, period. So then I had to go to the ice and the stain remover to get the wax out of the carpeting, and I used a spoon to basically scrape it up, and it's all out of the carpeting.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. It was not what I was envisioning doing on a Sunday when I was a little bit banged up, if I'm being honest with you. Eric in Oregon, thanks so much. Great phone call. All righty, let's get to the 3 college football takes, and then we will get an update with Dak before we get to a news brief. Carson Beck, about damn time. Their season was on life support. I thought Georgia was going to win the game. Early in the week, I did like Tennessee, but then with the uncertainty with Nico Iamaleava, I was out. And Tennessee got off to a good start in that game, and Nico Iamaleava, who ended up playing, looked fine. But they needed a Carson Beck big type of performance, and a Carson Beck performance where I'm not saying now he's going to be a top 10 pick of the draft. I would still not take him in the first 15 picks of the draft. But everything he was hyped up to be heading into the season, they needed to see that Carson Beck. And they did with 347 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and also had that big rushing touchdown towards the end. So Georgia is now back, I'm assuming, on Tuesday when we do more of this talk tomorrow for the college football playoff rankings. Tennessee will be the team that falls out of the top 12 that was in the bracket last week, and Georgia will elevate themselves inside the SEC. I probably think they would get the 11th seed, if I'm being honest, because I still think you have to put Alabama in front of them. I still think you have to put Ole Miss in front of them, and obviously Texas in front of them as well. But Carson Beck finally did show up. That was takeaway number 1, and now the Georgia season is back on. And if I'm Georgia, you would actually kind of hope, and I guess you maybe don't want to do this, because if you do win the SEC championship game, if you're in it, then you will get a bye because you will be one of the 4 highest-ranked conference champs. But what happens if Georgia gets to the conference championship game and they lose, and then they have 3 losses? Like, would they then be out of the college football playoff in a 12-team format? I genuinely do not know. But I think if you're Georgia, you play UMass and Georgia Tech, that's win-win. You would rather, personally, I'd rather just be 10-2. And if you're 10-2 and you don't have an SEC championship game, you will definitely be in the college football playoff. I also told you heading into the weekend to monitor LSU in Florida. And I thought Florida was really alive to beat LSU because Brian Kelly and his family were probably checked out on the season because their season came to a close last week when Kalen DeBoer dropped his you-know-what all over Brian Kelly and LSU on their home turf. And that LSU team, you can't tell me that they were going 100%. You can't tell me that Brian Kelly is popular in that locker room. You have some guys that are making business decisions now, which you could say in college with name, image, and likeness. And Billy Napier got what was an enormous victory for him and for his program, because it's one thing to say the coach is coming back, but then if you don't play well, if you don't have a nice victory, it's like, okay, you're bringing him back, but what's the purpose? Why should I ever believe? I'm not saying now everyone should be all in on Billy Napier at Florida, because I'm still not. But you look at this one, Brian Kelly, what a disaster of a season this was. And in year 3, it's supposed to take off. Now he's 6-4, and that buyout for a while is still enormous. So he's not going anywhere. But I'm not seeing Brian Kelly eventually winning a national championship at LSU. And remember, LSU has had 3 national championship winning coaches since 2000. Nick Saban, Les Miles, then obviously one of our favorites in Ed Orgeron. Go Tigers. But a big reason why Brian Kelly left Notre Dame, and the reason why he left Notre Dame, was because he didn't think he could win a national championship there. And obviously he thought he could win a national championship at LSU. But I'll say this, Brian Kelly's not going anywhere because of the buyout, and he's not going to win a national championship at LSU. And then finally, I told you last week, I thought Colorado was going to win out. I told you last week that I thought Colorado was going to the college football playoff. We saw BYU go down to Kansas. That was another thing. I looked at that spread. It was only BYU laying 2.5 at home. I thought that was a bad spot for BYU, and Kansas was going to win the game outright. So Kansas beats BYU. Arizona State now is going to be alive as well with Kenny Dillingham. We'll get into them later. But you look at Colorado, to me, I think they're the team to beat right now in the Big 12. They'll beat Kansas. They'll beat Oklahoma State. And I think they'll be in that Big 12 championship game. And whoever they're playing, I do think that Colorado is going to win. And you see the team ball that Deion Sanders has right now, a punt return, Amari McNeil still making plays on the defensive side of the ball. It's not just Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, but that Colorado win up against a Utah team that I know that they have not had a great season, but Kyle Whittingham is a heck of a coach. He said after the game that that's the best team that they've played this year. And that's coming from Kyle Whittingham, who's seen a lot of football for many years at Utah. So give all the credit in the world to Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter. But the biggest take from this is I think the Heisman Trophy is down to 2 names, where the 5 finalists that should be in New York City coming up in a few weeks, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. But the two guys that could actually win it, in my opinion, are Travis Hunter and then Ashton Genty. And Ashton Genty, the receiver for San Jose State, is unbelievable. But after a trailing 14-0, he puts up another 150-something yard performance type of game. Ashton Genty closing in on 1,900 yards for the season and has 27 total touchdowns. We cannot be any more effusive in our praise of Ashton Genty than what we have been this season. And he's someone that has a great case to make to go win the Heisman Trophy, and we'll see if he's going to be able to do that. But you look at what Ashton Genty's been able to do, and then you have Travis Hunter, where the numbers on Ashton Genty for the year right now are 1,893 rushing yards and 27 total touchdowns. But then you take a look at Travis Hunter. He has 3 interceptions on the season. And then also, he got a rushing touchdown over the weekend. He also, got an interception too. But you look at Travis Hunter, 5 receptions, 55 yards over the weekend, but the 3 interceptions on the season, 74 receptions on the year, 911 receiving yards, and now 10 total touchdowns with the fact that he had the 9 receiving touchdowns and the rushing score. So to me, the Heisman Trophy in these next few weeks will really be either won by Travis Hunter or by Ashton Genty. But I will say with Colorado, Travis Hunter's probably their best player, but their most valuable player, you could make the case at Shedeur Sanders, and I'll make that case that it is Shedeur Sanders. So those are the 3 college football takes from what was an exhilarating weekend of college football. All righty, we'll take a timeout. We will update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio when we return. That's with the news brief. But first up, here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by LinkedIn. Let LinkedIn's deep candidate insights help you find your next Pro Bowl hire today. To post your job for free, go to linkedin.com/recruitment. Terms and conditions apply. Daniel Jones will be watching from the sidelines once again. The Giants quarterback is healthy this time, but is being benched with the team coming out of its bye at 2-8. Third-string quarterback Tommy DeVito gets the nod over backup Drew Lock. Bengals corner DJ Turner is reportedly feared to have suffered a season-ending broken collarbone, while the Jaguars have lost receiver Gabe Davis for the season with torn meniscus. The Cowboys host the Texans to conclude Week 11. Dallas has dropped 4 straight and has turned to Cooper Rush with Dak Prescott done for the year. Tough times in Big D, but head coach Mike McCarthy won't buckle.
I'm not a big fan of drama. In that personality is something that I've had to learn to, as a coach, to engage with and work with and so forth. So I think like anything in life, I think it's important when you do go through times, regardless of what they are professionally, you go back to who you are.
The Texans have lost back-to-back games in 3 of 4. Tom Herman out at FAU after going 6-16 in 2 years. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
And it's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INFSportsCenter or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. If you're listening later in the show, we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. All righty, let's start off with Josh Allen. What beating the Chiefs this go-around means for the Buffalo Bills.
Means we have to 9 wins. I know it's from perception, outside perception, it's a really big game and what it means for both fan bases and the league. We're in week 11. You know, we're 9-2. Last time I checked, 9 wins probably doesn't get you in the playoffs. So, you know, going into this bye week, get to enjoy ourselves a little bit, but coming back ready, you know, a hungry team and just trying to go 1-0.
He's not my quarterback, but that's a type of the answer where you go, that's my quarterback. That's my quarterback. Because that's what you want to hear from your leader. That's what you want to hear from your MVP. That's what you want to hear from your quarterback. They know it. Yesterday was a good win. Yesterday wasn't just any regular season victory. It's important, but now they've done so 4 times in a row in the regular season, taking care of Kansas City. When you see them again, you have to beat them. And that has to be in the postseason, or once again, it means nothing whenever these teams then play in the regular season. Let's get to Von Miller. He knows a thing or two about winning some Super Bowls on the importance of beating the Chiefs.
The speech from Coach McDermott was like, it's just another game, and, 100 years from now, nobody's going to remember. And, we were like that. This is a big game. This is why we here. When the bright lights come on, we rise to the occasion. We don't need to sugarcoat it to take the pressure off of us. Pressure comes from within, and everybody in that defensive line room kind of rose to the occasion. And like I said, it's a special moment, and to be able to, be optimistic and speak great things into existence, it's a wonderful feeling for sure.
Yeah, I think that's more of a confidence builder yesterday for the defense, which has been really good this year compared to the offense. We know what Josh Allen is. We know how great he could be. But that was big for the defense. But I do find it funny. Josh Allen and Sean McDermott are kind of saying, no big deal, no big deal, no big deal. They're like Hickey walking out of the Rose Bowl after Penn State got a meaningless victory. And they're just like, oh, no big deal, no big deal, no big deal. And Von Miller's like, bleep that. This is a huge deal. Let's go to Patrick Mahomes on the loss to the Buffalo Bills.
Like I said, it's a good football team, so nothing to hang your head on. I'm losing to them, but we feel like we can play better. So we'll get back to work and try to use this as a spark so that we can be a better football team in the end. And the undefeated thing was cool, but that's not our ultimate goal, so we'll keep building towards that.
Yeah, nice spot to be in if you're Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. All right, we get this undefeated thing off our back, and hey, they beat us, so what? Let's see if they can beat us basically in the postseason is the way that I took that answer, and he's fair to think that. Let's go to Doug Peterson. Ooh, Jaguars blown out yesterday. There's blowouts and there's that performance yesterday. Let's listen up to Doug Peterson on his job status with the Jaguars.
I can't control that, and listen, I've been around this league a long time, and if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, obviously. But at the same time, I still have a job to do, and that's to get ready for a good division opponent here in 2 weeks.
It almost would have been funny if Doug just started to sing, waiting on a sunny day, come on. Because, man, it has been some dark times for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you just feel horrible for him because he knows he's a dead man walking. But still, as of 3:48 p.m. Eastern time, I don't think Shad Khan has fired him, which maybe he's going to make him stick it out for the rest of the season, knowing that he's done at the end of the year. Mike Florio was on NBC Sports last night, Football Night in America, and let's listen up to what he had to say about the Jaguars' future.
Before the season started, team owner Shad Khan said, "This is the best team the Jaguars have ever assembled. Let's prove it by winning now." So here we are, 2-9. Worst loss today in franchise history. Bye week coming up. Doug Peterson was asked after the game about the possibility of being fired. He said, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And it could happen soon. Now, what about the guy that put together the best team ever assembled, General Manager Trent Baalke? I've talked to several people throughout the league, and there's a belief in some circles he could potentially survive into next year as part of a package deal that would reunite him with someone he worked with back in 1998 and 1999 with the New York Jets. That coach is available. He's won a few Super Bowls. His name is Bill Belichick.
And I talked about that coach about like a month and a half ago, potentially going to Jacksonville because of the Khan family's relationship with Bill Belichick. Joe Burrow, he has 3,028 passing yards. That's the most in the league. 27 passing touchdowns, the most in the league. Only 4 interceptions, and the Bengals are 4-7. Yikes. Let's listen up. Jamar Chase seems to call out Zach Taylor after another disastrous loss for the Cincinnati Bengals.
How do I do it? I don't know. Ask Zach. Ask the coaches. Don't ask me. That's not my job.
To finish?
I play football on the field. I don't call plays for us, so I can't really do nothing.
You think that's part of the finishing factor is plays stuff?
I don't know.
They're not going to fire the coach because the organization's too cheap, but when you have Jamar Chase playing the way that he's playing, T. Higgins now back, Trey Hendrickson leading the league as of yesterday in sacks, and Joe Burrow playing like an MVP, but it will get probably no MVP votes because the team's 4-7. Problems. Here is Matt Eberflus. The Bears just find new ways to lose, and it's actually impressive. It really is. They should have had a great moment yesterday. Caleb Williams leads that drive. You get a game-winning field goal. Instead, the kick was blocked. Now, with about 30 seconds left, they let the clock run down. They take the timeout, and then they go pooch the field goal that got batted down right off the kick. So you got the 28-yard line. Could you got a few more yards with the way you're rushing the football and you still had a timeout in your back pocket? Yeah, you could have. Here is Matt Eberflus on why he elected not to run another play before the block kick.
they were loading the box there, so you could say you could do that for sure, maybe get a couple more yards, but you also risk, fumbling and different things there. We felt where we were, if we're at the 36 or 35, you're definitely doing that because you want to get it inside there. I felt very confident where we were at that time with the wind and where we were on the field.
It's a 46-yard field goal. In this day and age of football, you got to hit it. If you would have got 3, 4, 5 more yards, would have made a difference? Probably not, because the kick was blocked right away. Here is Kirby Smart on ESPN after Georgia got an enormous victory up against Tennessee to save their football season and what this win over Tennessee means for the college football playoff.
What do you think you showed the committee tonight?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know what they look for. I really don't know what they look for anymore. So I would welcome anybody in that committee to come down to this league and play in this environment. So it's a tough place to play.
Well, let's be real, Coach. Now, you could have gripes with the College Football Playoff Committee. They ranked you 12th last week, and because of the way this is formatted, you're on the outside looking in for the College Football Playoff bracket. You should have been. You had 2 losses up until that point, where Ole Miss smacked you around and Alabama beat the snot out of you in the first half, and then your team, they showed up in the second half up against Alabama, but they couldn't get the job done at the end. You need to prove your worth a little bit more than just relying off the name of Georgia, and you did that on Saturday. But I don't think you need to take a shot at the College Football Playoff Committee. Dana White chimes in at UFC 309 and the aftermath of it on Mike Tyson's loss to Jake Paul.
Mike Tyson was right, and I was wrong. He basically said, I told him, Mike, you're basically 60 years old. And he's like, you honestly think this kid's going to do anything to me? He's not good. He's not going to knock me out. He's not going to do this. And you saw him. He tripped when he was walking down the thing. He had a hard time walking up the stairs. He had a knee brace on, and Jake Paul couldn't do anything to him. He made a ton of money, and I know people are mad. You stayed home on a Saturday night, but you didn't pay for it. When Mike Tyson shows up, everybody makes money. Jake Paul is. I don't have to tell you guys. You guys know. Mike Tyson is the A+++ side of that thing, and he was right. Jake Paul couldn't do to him.
Dana White loves Mike Tyson. Dana White hates Jake Paul. Jake Paul, if he wanted to, could have really done some damage even to the great Mike Tyson. And early on, Mike Tyson showed a little bit, but then you knew he didn't have much left in the tank, and Jake Paul said, I'll carry you. I'm not going to disrespect the legend. And that's basically what happened anyway after the fight when Jake Paul admitted that. But I understand it, right? Dana hates Jake Paul's guts, so he's not going to give Jake Paul praise. Mike Tyson used Jake Paul. Jake Paul used Mike Tyson. They all made a lot of money. And if you were expecting anything different than what did transpire on Friday night, that's on you. Like my chiropractor goes, I was so disappointed about the fight. I go, disappointed about what? Did you actually think Mike Tyson at almost 60? Maybe Shep would. No, I'm just kidding. Shep wouldn't beat him. But I'm just kidding. But who actually thought that Jake Paul was going to lose this fight? Mike Tyson, there's some videos where he looks like vintage Mike. They're 5-second clips. Then there's other videos where it looks as if he shouldn't even be in the boxing ring anymore. That's what happens when you get to almost 60. All righty, Vernon Davis going to join us next. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, we continue hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. What a wild, and I mean wild weekend of sports it was. And I didn't love the Tyson-Paul fight, but a lot of people were interested on that. You had UFC 309, which I was in attendance for, at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. John Jones with an unbelievable spinning back kick up against Stipe Miocic. And I actually heard an interview that John Jones did that he learned that kick like 5 or 6 months ago, which is just crazy. And he was able to execute that in the fight. And at first, when I saw him land the kick, I go, they already called the fight? That's kind of early just for a kick landing. And then you see the replay. And you just see the way that the body shifted and how Stipe falls down. And he just even goes like, okay, basically, I had enough. And you know that if they didn't stop it there, John Jones would have been all over Stipe Miocic, and then it would have been over about 3 or 4 seconds after that, the moment where John Jones delivered a few punches and would have delivered a few punches on Stipe Miocic. And then college football was sensational. How about Oregon, man? They almost lost that game to Wisconsin, and then DJ Uiagalelei's brother came up, Mateo, and made a big play at the end of that game. I never thought Wisconsin was actually going to go win the game, but that was really close. And you look around the rest of college football, clearly Georgia had a statement victory. Hey, we're back. Don't forget about us. Carson Beck played really well with Georgia taking care of Tennessee. Boise State had an early scare, then they were able to survive. It was a fun game between Colorado and Utah, where Colorado is just an absolute wagon right now when you look at the landscape of college football. I think they're trending upwards and they're trending in the right direction, and that's going to be a team that I do think will end up winning the Big 12. So you just had a lot of chaos and craziness from the world of college football. And then in the NFL, it pretty much gave you everything you wanted yesterday. You know, if you didn't have a dog in the fight, you had the Bills take care of the Chiefs. The Steelers take care of the Ravens. So the AFC, even though we still look at Kansas City and we go, oh, the Chiefs are great, they probably get back to the Super Bowl, they are vulnerable. They were vulnerable last year, and now it's can anyone take them down when it matters? Ravens, you have some questions after their loss to the Steelers. The Steelers kind of solidified themselves as a Super Bowl contender, even though I don't think they will get to the Super Bowl. Buffalo with another big regular season victory. And then you look at the NFC. You know, Eagles took care of business on Thursday. Niners lost another game in bad fashion to the Seattle Seahawks, and no one could really get in the way right now of the Detroit Lions, as they're unbelievable. So from the fights on Friday and Saturday, then to the football that we got to see on Saturday in college, and then the football and the way that it did all go down in the NFL world on Sunday as well, I just thought that was a really, and I mean a really fun weekend of sports when you look back at it. And hey, the Niners are now going to become a big topic of conversation because you look inside that NFC West, Cardinals are 6-4. Rams, they just got the victory yesterday up against the Patriots. They're 5-5. Seattle takes one from the San Francisco 49ers. So now Seattle is 5-5 as well. And here are the Niners. They fall to 5-5. And San Francisco, you take a look, their next 2 games are up against the Green Bay Packers and the Buffalo Bills. So this is going to be a big test here for the San Francisco 49ers. And talking about the San Francisco 49ers, we welcome in a player who played many years for that franchise, also played with a few other teams as well, won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos, Super Bowl 50 champion, played in the NFL from 2006 to 2019, and he's here today on behalf of Smirnoff, and that is former NFL tight end Vernon Davis. Vernon, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this. How you been?
Hey, good to be here. I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, so I started off really this segment talking about the Niners. They lost a close one yesterday to the Seahawks in devastating fashion. They're 5-5. Seattle's 5-5. The Rams are 5-5. And then the Cardinals are 6-4. We've seen some bad losses from the 49ers this year. When you look at them, do you just get this feel that, hey, it happens with teams that sometimes it's just not your year?
Yeah, sometimes it happens. Well, a lot of times it happens. I mean, it's one of those things. Like I tell everybody, I remember when I was playing, we went to the Super Bowl 47 it was, and then we came back and I don't know, it was just disastrous. I mean, like everything wasn't working in our favor. You just never know. That's why when you get there, you have to capitalize on every given opportunity because even though you may have this superstar team, it's still not guaranteed for you to be able to go back that next year.
So if they don't make the playoffs this year, and there's still a chance that they win this division and make the postseason, do you think that's it, like on their Super Bowl window? Do you think it slams shut, or you still believe that this roster could end up down the road, find a way to get Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch a Super Bowl championship?
No, I definitely think this roster can end up going back to the championship, which is the Super Bowl. I do, and I say that because of all the different pieces that they have in place. They have Purdy, who's he's pretty consistent for the most part. I think he needs more time. I need to see 2-3 more years out of him to really know what he's all about. But he's definitely shown that he can play this game at the highest level. But now, can he get there and win it? That's questionable. We don't know that. But they do have a lot of upside. And when you have upside like that, especially when you have a quarterback, then you have a strong defense. I think anything's possible. The sky's the limit. So I'm definitely not going to count them out in the future. I think it is a strong possibility for them to go back again.
Yeah, I look at the NFC playoff picture as it's really starting to shape up now 11 weeks in. I think for the wild card spots, The Commanders will get in. I do think the Vikings will get in, and also the Packers. So those are 3 wild card spots. That means you got to win the NFC West, in my opinion, if it holds true, to get in. Like, you look at the NFC West right now, Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers. Who do you think is going to end up winning that division, in your opinion?
49ers, Seahawks and 49ers. If I had to put my money on it, I'd put my money on the 49ers for sure.
Okay. So they still find a way to get this thing cooking towards the second half of the season.
I definitely think they'll find a way. That team, if you go back and look at some of the past games they have, especially when the stakes are high, they come through. So I strongly believe in my heart that they can definitely win it.
Vernon Davis here with us on behalf of Smirnoff. Let me ask you about the Broncos, a team that you won the Super Bowl with. I was questioning Sean Payton before this year. I did not know what Bo Nix was going to be able to be. Holy smokes, what a statement yesterday. Broncos look like they have a quarterback, and we know the coach is really damn good, but Sean is quickly starting to change things in Denver.
Yeah. Sean is a legend, man. Can't count Sean out. He's been proven, man. He can do it. He definitely knows talent. He knows how to get a quarterback in there that can play. And sometimes, like with Bo Nix, a guy like him, you just give him time. Just give him time, and he'll come around. But, definitely Denver is – I wouldn't count Denver out as well. I mean, I think they have a bright future. I don't know how far they'll go this year. I'm not quite certain about that. But I really strongly believe with Peyton, they can go far.
And then with the team that you wrapped up your career with, the Commanders, they've had such a toxic kind of environment for such a long time. That has changed with Josh Harris now in. Dan Quinn is the head coach, and then it also helps when you hit on the quarterback. I know that they lost on Thursday night, but for them to be 7-4, they should be in the postseason. You got to feel good, right, with what you're seeing out of Jaden Daniels and the Commanders.
Oh, yeah, I definitely feel good about Jaden Daniels and Commanders. I mean, after playing with the Commanders for 4 years, I've been there when that team was down. To see them come up and just win as many games as they've won, and to play the way they're playing. I mean, the culture looks like it's definitely different. Looks like they did a lot of they're doing a lot of the little things the correct way, and I talk about that all the time. It's all about the little things, and sometimes those things we can't see from the outside, but it seems as if everything is going really well with them from a team standpoint as well as the upper management.
How did you enjoy your experience, by the way, shifting gears, when you look at what Jim Harbaugh is doing with the Chargers? We know he's a legend, won a national championship at Michigan, got to a Super Bowl, as you know, with the San Francisco 49ers as well, resurfaced as an NFL head coach with the Chargers. But your experience with Jim Harbaugh, how would you describe it, Vernon?
Oh, I would say that Jim Harbaugh is the type of guy you bring in. He's like a doctor. He can fix anything. He can fix you, and he's been proven to come into an organization, turn it around. And I think, this is his first season, but and they're doing, in my opinion, I think they're doing really well. They're doing really, really well. A lot better than they've done in the past. But Jim Harbaugh, you just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. He's one of those kind of guys because he can definitely pull the rabbit out of the hat.
And we need them to really excel. I know they're 7-3 right now. Had a nice win up against the Bengals, or you wiped some sweat off your forehead after the way that game did go down. But you got Kansas City, where that division just, I know the Broncos are improving. The Raiders are still a disaster, but you really need the Chargers with that coach and that quarterback to really take off, because then you could have a legitimate challenger for the foreseeable future inside the division for Kansas City with the Chargers in their way.
Yeah, you definitely can. But we all know about the Kansas City Chiefs. That's right. But, that's a scary team right now. And I say that because of the additions that they have with DeAndre Hopkins coming in. I mean, he's definitely one of my favorite players, and he can play at the highest level. I mean, his stats shown that over time. But yeah, I mean, Harbaugh is definitely going to have some competition there, but I strongly do believe that he can turn everything around.
Wrap it up with Vernon Davis on behalf of Smirnoff. I got to ask you about Brock Bowers. 70 receptions, the second most in football, 706 yards, top 10 in reception yards this year, receiving yards. To be able to do this with all the expectations, first year in the league, what stands out to you about Brock Bowers, the Raiders tight end?
Yeah, Brock. I like Brock Bowers. He's definitely he's extremely talented. He came in right away. It tells me that he's a football player. His IQ for the game is extremely high. I wasn't like that. It took me some time. It probably took me 2 to 3 years to really figure out the game. I wish I had his IQ as a tight end, and I applaud him for his efforts and his dedication towards the game. And I definitely see a huge future for him as the years come. But definitely exciting, and it's exciting to see for sure.
Now they just need a quarterback, and with Brady being a minority owner, he's been mentoring Shedeur Sanders a little bit. Coach Prime, we see what Colorado's doing. I kind of keep on thinking that the Raiders are going to find their way to get Shedeur Sanders in the draft. I don't know how much of Colorado you've seen, but how about Shedeur a little bit?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me if they do get Shedeur Sanders. I mean, Shedeur. Yeah, I've been watching Shedeur since he was at Jackson State. He definitely has it, man. He definitely has it. If he can do what he's doing right now at the collegiate level, I mean, with more coaching, more experience, and then being on the next level with the competition being as high as it is, I think we could see a lot of Shedeur in the coming years on that next level, because he definitely has it, man. He's a talented young man. I love watching him play.
Do you think Prime should maybe follow his son and go coach him in the NFL?
No, I don't think so. I think Prime should stay right where he is. I think he should stay there and look for his next Shedeur Sanders. But you never know. I mean, you never know what you're going to get. Maybe we do see that, but we'll see. We'll see.
And you got to be blown away, and I'll talk about Smirnoff in a second, wrapping up with Vernon Davis. You got to be blown away what Travis Hunter's able to do. To be almost a 1,000-yard wide receiver, he obviously has a few games left, and then go pick off 3 balls this season and be an elite corner. I just don't understand that motor. I don't get how that's physically possible.
Oh, man. I seen some guys talking about, I forget who it was, but they said John Morant was like the best athlete in the world. Did you see that? I don't know who said that, but I can't remember. But I saw a caption. One of an NFL guy was talking about, who was it? I can't remember. But said John Morant was the best athlete in the world.
Maybe Travis it was Kevin Hunter. Durant. I think it was Kevin Durant who said it.
Okay. Well, to me, Travis Hunter is one of the best athletes in the world. And he's on the college level. Come on, man. He's one of those type of guys. Like, we already know what he's going to do when he gets to the next level. His potential is so high. I mean, not only can he play football both ways, but his ability to play basketball, I wouldn't doubt if he'd make it in the pros as a basketball player in the NBA. I mean, he's that talented, man. He's so athletic. Some of the plays that I see him making, I'm like, wow, how did he do that? Like, I thought I was super athletic, but that dude, man, that dude.
I don't think there's anything that he can't do, if I'm being honest with you, Vernon.
There's nothing that he can't do, man, from an athletic standpoint. That dude is incredible, man. He's incredible to watch. I'm extremely thankful to be able to have the opportunity to witness some of the things that he's been able to do on the college level. I mean, you could put him, to me, I would put him in that box with some of the best college players ever played the game. Reggie Bush being one of them. He was super exciting. And, I can go on and on, but yeah, he's definitely has to go in that box. Give him the Heisman. He deserves it. I don't care what anybody else does on the college level. Give Travis Hunter the Heisman Trophy. He deserves it.
All righty, before we let you run, Vernon Davis, great stuff. Appreciate it as always. Tell me what you're doing with Smirnoff today.
Well, I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm a part of a wonderful activation with Smirnoff. We're partnering with Matchbox. Matchbox is a connection agency. They're all about connecting people in the best way. And we'll be hosting a watch party at the Detroit game. And it's going to be super exciting. We had one about a month ago. It was a success. You should have saw the faces and the experience and the energy in that room at the Vikings-Rams game when I was there. It was so cool to be a part of a wonderful experience like that. And I'm excited. I'm excited about this next game that's coming.
Well, Vernon, always great to catch up with you. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for doing this. Be well.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Vernon Davis joining us for the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. When we'll come on back, I love what he had to say about Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, and Coach Prime as well. But when we come on back, let's get into the San Francisco 49ers a little bit more, because I think there's a legitimate chance they're going to miss the postseason this year. I'll tell you why on the other side. But first, let me tell you about my friends at Sleeper. Football season is in full swing. Take full advantage by winning some cash with Sleeper Picks. Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you can win real money. Just pick more or less on at least 2 of your favorite player stats. If you're right, you could win. You can pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Sleeper has a special offer. New users will have their first deposit match up to $1,500. If you deposit $1,500, they'll give you an extra $1,500 in credit. If you've already played, Sleeper's got discounts to player projections every week of the season. Check in and see what they have this week. Download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE, and your first deposit will be matched 100% up to $1,500 in credit. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and unlock one of the fastest-growing fantasy sports apps in the world. Use code SCORE for up to $1,500 credit match on your first deposit. That's code SCORE. Must be at least 18 years old in most states and in state where it is legal. Promo code, location, other restrictions apply. See terms of use for details at sleeper.com. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I love what Vernon Davis had to say about Colorado. I think Shedeur is going to be really damn good in the NFL. I do think Coach Prime should stay at least one more season at Colorado, if not more than that. And then eventually, I'm sure a bigger job will come calling in college. But I don't really want to see him go to the NFL. Like, I don't know, Stu. I guess it would be fun. For example, the Raiders get, let's say, Shedeur in the draft. I think Antonio Pierce would be his coach for next season. But then if, let's say, the Raiders after that want to get rid of Antonio Pierce, I think there's a better chance wherever Shedeur goes that it's not initially the first job or the first spot where Shedeur goes. That's where Deion's going to wind up, right away. I think it's too tough to try to arrange that and premeditate it. But I do think whenever Shedeur gets drafted, whenever that job is open, and bad organizations, and not everyone could be like the Texans and the Commanders. You could just change it overnight, and you could just change it right away. That usually takes time. But Stu, I kind of think the next time that Raiders job would open up, if let's say Shedeur is going to the Raiders, then the first candidate people would think of would be Coach Prime, whether it happens or not.
Yeah, that's a great point because a lot of people are trying to insinuate that it would be this offseason. But what you're saying makes much more sense because to get the stars to align perfectly, that's going to be tough to do, right?
Yeah, and for example, let's look at the NFL draft order right now. So the Jaguars, I think they're going to keep Trevor Lawrence. Tennessee, they need a quarterback. Cleveland needs a quarterback. The Raiders need a quarterback. The Giants need a quarterback. Those are the first 5 picks of the draft if it holds true right now. So could the Raiders hire Coach Prime this offseason and still get Shedeur Sanders? Yeah, because there's a possibility, okay, Jacksonville's not going to take a quarterback. You can move up from 4 to 1. Or Tennessee, Shedeur could say, I'm not going there. And then they take Cam Ward because they don't want to deal with that. And maybe Cleveland goes, we're just going to run it back. It would be stupid to do this, but Cleveland does stupid things in football. Maybe they do run it back for one more season with Deshaun Watson since they have to pay him one way or another either way. So there's a chance that Shedeur and Deion could go somewhere and they could partner up together right away in the NFL. But I think what is more likely is Shedeur gets drafted somewhere, and then in the next year or two, that job opens up, and that's when you try to go get Coach Prime. That's just the way that I could kind of see something playing on now. Okay, we saw the Giants years ago find a way to get Eli Manning because Eli Manning and his family came out and said, we're not going to go to the Chargers. And that ended up working for both teams. The Chargers got Phillip Rivers, who is a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, and the Giants ended up getting Eli Manning, and they won 2 Super Bowls with him. So I do think Coach Prime is back at Colorado next year. Shedeur, I've said this now since October. I think he's going to wind up with the Raiders. And you look at Travis Hunter, man. I don't know if he's going to win the Heisman, to be fair. I think it's between him and Ashton Genty. I really do believe that, as I said earlier. And that's going to be really close. I don't think you can emphatically say right now that it has to be Travis Hunter and that it can't be anybody else. These next 2 to 4 weeks are really going to decide who ends up winning the Heisman. And I thought Cam Ward blew his opportunity in that Miami loss, even though they could still win the ACC. Dylan Gabriel and the Ducks are undefeated. And Shedeur, I don't think gets enough credit in the Heisman. And I've said it already, he's the most valuable player of Colorado, even though Travis Hunter is their best player. But with all that being said, I do believe that Heisman's coming down to Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty. And how NFL teams are going to draft Travis Hunter is going to be fascinating. Like, do you have him play wide receiver and corner? If you make him pick one, which one is he going to prefer, one or the other? That is going to be really intriguing leading up to the draft. But still, ask you another question here. San Francisco or the field to win the NFC West? Who would you go with right now? San Francisco or the field?
I'll go with the field. I just think there's enough talent out there that one of those teams, whether it be the Cardinals or the Rams or the Seahawks, probably the Cardinals or the Seahawks, can just squeak by. I just think this is a year from hell for the 49ers. Despite the division not being that great, I just don't think they're going to get it done.
And you look at it yesterday, the Packers won a game that they probably shouldn't have won. So that impacts the wild card. The Vikings got a victory yesterday. The Lions end up winning and blowing out the Jaguars. They're 9-1. And in the NFC East, the Eagles played the Commanders. So sure, the Eagles, right, asserted themselves as the team that should be the team to beat in the NFC East. But the Commanders are 7-4. You look at it right now, Stu. Tell me when you disagree. Eagles win the NFC East. Lions win the North. Falcons win the South. And then, just for argument's sake, insert whomever for the NFC West. Then after that, Commanders make the playoffs, correct? At 7-4?
Yes.
The Vikings at 8-2, they're going to be a wild card team.
Yes.
And then the Green Bay Packers at 7-3, I still think they're a wild card team.
Yep.
So that leaves one NFC West team, and that's the one spot reserved for whoever's going to win the division. Well, Arizona right now is 6-4. Here's Arizona's schedule the rest of the way. Seahawks, Vikings, Seahawks, Patriots, Panthers, Rams, and 49ers. You know, you should have 2 gimme wins there in the Panthers and the Patriots. So that gets them, without having to really test them to win any games, that gets them already to 8 wins if they beat the Panthers and the Patriots. The Rams are 5-5. They just beat the Patriots. They play the Eagles this upcoming week on Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football. Then you have the Saints, you have the Bills, you have the Niners, you have the Jets, you have the Cardinals, and the Seahawks. I know that the Saints interim coach is now 2-0, but let's pump the brakes there. So there's 2 gimme wins on that schedule. The Jets and the Saints. So that would put them at 7 wins before having to challenge them to do anything else. You look at the Seahawks. The Seahawks schedule. Cardinals, Jets, Cardinals, Packers, Vikings, Bears, Rams. You would think the Seahawks should be able to beat the Bears, and you would think that the Seahawks should be able to beat the New York Jets as well. So if we're considering those gimme games, that puts them at 7 wins as well. Here's the Niners schedule the rest of the way. The Niners right now at 5-5. They're at Lambeau Field this weekend. Then they're at Buffalo. They play the Bears, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Lions, and the Cardinals. Now, if Tua Tagovailoa wasn't back, I would say that's a gimme win up against the Dolphins. But he is back. They only have 1 gimme win left, and that's up against the Chicago Bears. I look at this right now, Stu. I don't think the Niners are making the playoffs. I don't. Because we laid out. Your 3 wildcard teams are going to be whoever finishes second in the NFC East. That's going to be the Commanders. Then second and third in all likelihood in the NFC North. So Lions in the division. Vikings already 8 wins. Packers already at 7 wins. And you got 1 spot there. And right now you have the Cardinals at 6-4, the Rams at 5-5, the Seahawks at 5-5, and the 49ers are at 5-5. But the timing of these games mean everything. And when your cupcake games happen, like if they had the Bears this weekend, that would be wonderful for San Francisco. All right, you blew the game yesterday. Geno Smith off and running, awesome in that game. And Geno Smith gets that victory 20-17. But with that being said, if you would have lost that game as you did, and then you had the Bears and you get back to 6-5, it's like, okay, crisis averted. But like, could they beat both the Packers and the Bills? Sure. Is it a lock that they beat both those teams? Absolutely not. And I think if you're being a realistic 49ers fan, the best you could ask for in these next 2-game stretch is to just go 1-1. I think that's the best thing you could ask for. And you go to Green Bay and you go to Buffalo. You know, if they lose both those games, they're donezo. If they fall to 5-7, don't make the argument why the Niners can make the playoffs. And the Niners they have not shown it this year. They haven't. That Chiefs game, they let it get away from them in the second half. Right? They blew that victory up against the Rams that they should have had. They blew the game yesterday up against the Seahawks. They're just showing you who they are. And they keep on showing you who they are. You know who they're starting to remind me of? It's not as bad because they have 5 wins at least. But they really remind me of the Cincinnati Bengals of this year. You have all this talent. Look at the Bengals. Burrow's playing like an MVP. Won't even get a vote probably because the team's 4-7. Jamar Chase is playing like a stud. Trey Hendrickson's leading the league in sacks. And they're 4-7 with their 4 wins up against dog crap football teams, if we're just being honest. And people will sit here and they'll still tell me, oh, the Bengals could do this, the Bengals could do that, because you're resting on what they've done in the past. This is a new year. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life, right? You got to eventually show me what you can do in 2024. And how about the Bengals yesterday? Dead in the first half, you make the comeback, and your kicker, we used to call him Money Mac, Money McPherson. He was sensational in the year that they got to the Super Bowl. But, geez, he stinks right now. Missing those 2 kicks? You miss it once, okay. You miss it twice? Geez Louise. That was horrible. That was pathetic. That was putrid. And it's another game where the Bengals look at their offense and go, we did our job, and nobody else on special teams or defense showed up to do their job. Just putrid. But the Niners are kind of looking the same way. We're all banking on them out of reputation. Like, you even heard it with Vernon Davis when he was on with us. He's banking it off their, and I get it, he played for the Niners, but he's banking it off their reputation. Reputation only carries you so far when you show us who you really are in this individual season. And the Bengals, they're done. They're 4. Don't tell me. You have dopes today on the radio and TV try to say, oh, the Bengals are, they're 4-7. Look at their 4 wins too. Browns stink. Giants stink. Panthers stink. Raiders stink. Those are their 4 wins. They got 7 losses. So just because they have Burrow and Chase and T. Higgins, it doesn't mean that that's a team now that's definitely going to make the playoffs because they're 4-7. Why should they get the benefit of the doubt? And the Niners are infringing into that territory of they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt anymore. They really don't. Look at their win. They beat the Bucs solid, Cowboys solid, Patriots stink, Jets stink. So what have they showed you this year? They played playoff teams this year, like the Vikings. They lost. The Rams, in their division, they lost. They split with Seattle. So it's like you kind of look at this. They blow the game to Arizona. They lose to Kansas City. They could, their best victory is what, the Bucs? That's what we're doing here? The Bucs are the best victory? You can't tell me it's the Cowboys stink. So their best victory is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why should I anticipate that they're going to beat the Packers? Why should I anticipate in 2 weeks they're going to beat the Bills? They go win both those games, okay, season back on, I'll believe in you. But if you just split, I'm not going to be all that confident with what the schedule is down the stretch. So I don't think the Niners are going to make the playoffs. Now, Stu, who does make the playoffs out of the NFC West? Because you're agreeing with me. You're taking the field. We go with the Cardinals. We go with the Rams. We go with the Seahawks. Who are we going with?
I'll go with the Cardinals. I just think they're very hot right now. The schedule is at least somewhat manageable down the stretch. I like the way Kyler's playing. I just have some good vibes about that team.
You know what? I kind of agree with you, and here's why. I'll go with the team that has nothing to lose. Rams, you don't know how much longer their window's going to be open. The Niners, they got all the pressure on them. The Seahawks, they look really good some weeks, and then some other weeks I just like that game against Buffalo. I know Buffalo's much better, but they weren't even competitive in it. But I look at the Cardinals. Kyler's now back. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner's a good running back, and that team plays really hard for Jonathan Gannon. So you look at their schedule there, and they have a win in hand, right? They're 6-4. All the other teams only have 5 wins. So you look at the Cardinals. 10-7 probably wins this division. If you get to 9-8, you could win this division. But if you get to 10-7, you should be able to win this division. So Seattle, Minnesota, Seattle, New England are their next 4 games. Let's say they only win 2. All right, let's just say they only win 2. Say they split Seattle, they lose to Minnesota, and they beat the Pats. That puts them at 8. So then you got to get 2 more games down the stretch. Carolina, boom, that's 9. And then you split the Rams and the 49ers. Well, that could be, I don't know because they don't have the times. Flex spot, Sunday Night Football, NBC to end the year. Cardinals, 49ers. I could see that. Feels like that's going to be an NFC West flex spot Sunday night, to end the season. And the Rams, at the end of their season, they play the Seahawks. So there's going to be implications there where there will be a Sunday Night Football game between an NFC West team, I would imagine. So I'll go the Cardinals to win their division. All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will come on back. Stu's got some questions for me. I got some answers. We do a little onsides, offsides next. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, it's the return of Tommy Cutlets in New York as the Giants have bench quarterback Daniel Jones and will start Tommy DeVito next Sunday. He led the Giants to a 3-game winning streak a year ago, taking them out of the running for a top 3 pick in the draft and the quarterback they desired. Bengals corner DJ Turner is reportedly feared to have suffered a season-ending broken collarbone, while Gabe Davis of the Jaguars has torn meniscus, ending his season. The final game of Week 11 is the Battle of Texas. The Cowboys host the Texans. Both teams are skidding. The Texans have dropped 3 of 4. The Cowboys have lost their last 4. And with Dak Prescott done for the year, it's now in the hands of Cooper Rush.
It's the NFL. You're going to win, you're going to lose. You're your butt smacked sometimes. And the beauty is that, it's right back to it's the next week. You don't have to wait a whole year. You don't have to do all that. And, it's right here, right in front of you, and it doesn't really allow you to dwell on the last game as much. And so that's kind of what we're doing.
Nico Collins is expected to play for the Texans after missing 5 games with a hamstring injury. FAU has reportedly fired Tom Herman with 3 years left on his contract after 2 years in which he went 6-16. And the Rookies of the Year will be announced tonight. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, onside, offside time. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Quick programming note, since we've had one change to the show. Dean Thomas is going to stop by at 5:20 p.m. Eastern. He will recap UFC 309. And he will also talk about that Jake Paul-Mike Tyson, I guess you could call it, fight that we saw on Friday night. If you were able to see it on Netflix, that is, of course. But anyway, Stu, you got some questions. I got some answers. What do we got cooking here?
All right, so the Bengals, they dropped to a disappointing 4-8 despite over 350 yards and 3 touchdowns from Joe Burrow, 148 yards from T. Higgins, and 2 touchdown grabs from Jamar Chase. Zach Taylor is now 13-15 in the past 2 seasons and is likely to miss the playoffs for this second straight year. Onsides, offsides, the Bengals will fire Zach Taylor after this season.
The Bengals are cheap. Look how long of a leash that they gave Marvin Lewis when he would always get them to the playoffs and they would never win a playoff game. Zach Taylor got to a Super Bowl in Cincinnati. This is a disaster. This is a disgrace that they're 4-7. But I think there is a 0% chance, unless Joe Burrow says he wants him out, which I don't think that he will, that the Bengals are going to fire Zach Taylor after this season. If they do, though, it would be so smart because you could go get a coaching upgrade in, let's say, Bill Belichick or Mike Vrabel. You know, you could throw out Ben Johnson. We've never seen Ben Johnson be a head coach before in this league. But imagine, that would be the most coveted job on the market because of Joe Burrow. And you also have Jamar Chase, and they got to give him his contract. But there's no doubt about it that Taylor will be back next year. So the Bengals will fire Zach Taylor after this season. Offside.
Offside.
Next up.
The Giants are riding a 5-game losing streak, including an ugly overtime loss to the Panthers last week. Now, coming off of their bye week, they are benching starting quarterback Daniel Jones and starting Tommy DeVito.
Tommy Cutlets, he's back.
He is back. Onsides, offsides, benching Daniel Jones is the right move for the Giants.
Can I ask you a question? Serious question. Who gives the Giants a better chance to win their next game? I know they're on a bye week, and then they play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving.
That would be Tommy DeVito, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say Tommy DeVito or Daniel Jones. We have to watch on Thanksgiving Cooper Rush
That's right.
Against Tommy DeVito. That's like eating turkey on Thanksgiving. It's going to suck. It's going to just be terrible. That's why you should be Team Lasagna. You should be Team Tommy Cutlets, for crying out loud. I'm sure they got a fat lasagna at their Thanksgiving. There's no doubt about that. But jeez, you want to talk about just a terrible, and I mean a terrible, Thanksgiving slate. You got the 4:30 game is Giants and Cowboys. The 12:30 game, Bears and Lions. You know what? Lions are one of the biggest stories in the league. At least you get to see Caleb Williams. And also, I hate to say it's fun to see how the Bears blow these games. But it's at least intriguing. The Fail Mary and then also missing the kick. And then on the Thursday night game, all right, you get Miami at Green Bay. If it's not cold in Green Bay, then that should be a decent game because then Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins may have a chance. But that middle game, if you dislike your family or you're trying to get away from your family, usually a 4:30 p.m. Eastern time game, you get some food, you go sit by the couch, and you can be antisocial and just watch the game. I think it's better to talk to those family members that you don't like than having to watch Cooper Rush up against Tommy Cutlets. But to answer your question, benching Daniel Jones is the right move for the Giants. It's offsides. Here's why. Because you just said it. The Giants suck right now with Daniel Jones. Why would you then turn it over to Tommy Cutlets, where if there's an emotional uptick and he wins a game or two, you could screw yourself over for the draft? Like, I don't know what you did last year with Tommy Cutlets, and then you don't get your franchise quarterback. Because I only think there's 2 potential franchise quarterbacks in the first round of the draft, and it's Shedeur Sanders and it's Cam Ward. So I would just say if it's not broke, don't fix it. Keep on throwing Daniel Jones out there even though he's broken, because he loses games, and that should be priority number 1 for the Giants. They should be tank, and tanking. So benching Daniel Jones is the right move for the Giants. No, because they're going to maybe win an extra game or 2. I would go offside.
Offside. The Big Ten currently has 4 of the top 5 teams in the country, including number 1 Oregon, as well as number 2 Ohio State, number 4 Penn State, and number 5 Indiana. However, there is just one other team from the Big Ten ranked in the top 25, and that's Illinois at number 24. Meanwhile, the SEC has 7 teams ranked in the top 20, including 5 in the top 10, led by number 3 Texas. So onside, offsides, the Big Ten is a better conference than the SEC this season.
Stu, do a little exercise here with me.
Okay.
Can you see this team win a national championship? Oregon.
Yes.
Ohio State.
Yes.
Texas.
Yes.
Penn State.
No.
Indiana.
No.
Alabama.
No.
Ooh. Georgia.
Yes.
Ole Miss.
No.
Tennessee.
No.
Okay, so you're a 2-2 split in terms of SEC and Big Ten to win a national championship. Now, I do think the SEC is better from top to bottom. But with that being said, I think the SEC is a better conference, because I agree with you. I could see Oregon and Ohio State winning a national championship this year in the Big Ten. Outside of that, I can't see any other team winning a national championship from the Big Ten this year. I don't love Texas, but I could see Texas doing so. I could see Alabama doing so. I could see Georgia doing so. I could see Ole Miss doing so. I just think the SEC is a better conference. So you ask me, the Big Ten is a better conference than the SEC this season. I will go offside.
Offside.
That's what happens when Jim Harbaugh leaves Michigan. Conference needed, Jimmy. What do we got next?
Now moving on to the Big 12, it got a major shakeup this weekend as number 6 BYU fell to Kansas, dropping into a tie with Colorado atop the conference at 6-1. However, nipping at their heels is number 21 Arizona State at 5-2 after their impressive 24-14 win at Kansas State. The Sun Devils travel to Provo to take on BYU this weekend, with the winner being in the driver's seat for the Big 12 championship game. Onsides, offsides, Arizona State can actually win the Big 12.
I think that's a typical spot right now where BYU bounces back. As I predicted, BYU is going to lose to Kansas. I know they've been asking to lose the last few weeks, and they finally did so. I think this is a spot where BYU bounces back. And then also, to me, the question is, ASU can actually win the Big 12. So, let's say if Arizona State doesn't lose to BYU, and they beat BYU, they beat Arizona, they're in the Big 12 championship. I'm not picking against Colorado right now in the Big 12. I think Colorado is better than Arizona State, and I think Colorado is better than BYU. So ASU could actually win the Big 12. I'm going to go offside because it's Colorado's, in my opinion, conference to lose.
Offside.
All right, well, we all gathered around our smart TVs to watch Mike.
I didn't. I was past that on the couch.
Some of us did, to watch Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Though ended up watching a lot of buffering and very little actual fighting. Paul improved to 11-1 after a unanimous decision, but Tyson threw just 97 punches to Paul's 278, landing just 18. Tyson landed 0 punches in 2 different rounds and landed a total of 6 punches in the final 5 rounds. So onside, offside, you believe Tyson held back because he knew he would beat Paul if he threw more punches?
Absolutely not. He's lucky because Jake Paul carried him here. That's what it was. So you believe Tyson held back because he knew he would beat Paul if he threw more punches? That's a no for me, dog. Offsides.
Offside.
But I'll tell you this. I'm sure this is what you heard probably over the weekend here on the Infinity Sports Network.
Let me tell you what's, man. You know, it's a good shepherd right here on the Infinity Sports Network. And let me just tell you that I saw Mike Tyson fight in that ring up against Jake Paul. And if some YouTuber can beat Mike Tyson, you know, that Zach Gelb, that Gelb said I could not beat him. Let me tell you, I definitely would have beat him. I would have embarrassed Mike Tyson. I would have sent Mike Tyson into a retirement home if the Good Shepherd just got into the ring. Not an octagon. Listen to UFC. Into the ring. I would have been like what Bill Russell was to the Boston Celtics, the great immortal, the late, great Bill Russell. What he was to the Celtics, what I would have been to the boxing world if they only give me an opportunity. I'm David Shepard. I'm the Good Shepherd. I just need an opportunity. And if you give me an opportunity, Mike Tyson, I'd beat the living crap out of you.
All right, let's go. Next one.
All right, last one. Some thought that Stipe Miocic would finally hand John Jones his first real loss in the octagon, but the best fighter in the world showed why he's never been beaten. Jones landed a vicious kick to the ribs in the third round. After the fight, Jones stood firm on his desire to fight Alex Pereira, not Tom Aspinall.
I'm not really worried about the Tom fight. I'm really worried about the Pereira fight. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, and I think if the UFC wants to have me back, then I think that's the fight they'll make. I've been really clear about my intentions. That's what I want, and I mean, I just feel like anybody would understand at this point. Like, you know, I'll retire the heavyweight belt if I have to. It's like, dude, give the guy what he wants at the end of the day, you know. And I'm not talking to Dana directly. I feel like I'm at a place now where, you know, like I want to take what I find to be super fights. I don't want to fight dangerous up-and-comers anymore. I want to fight dangerous, established champions. So Tom can have the heavyweight championship. I don't really care about it. My body doesn't lie in belts anymore. I've created something much bigger. I want Pereira.
So onsides, offsides, John Jones' next fight will be Tom Aspinall, not Alex Pereira.
And Dana made it even more crystal clear than it already was that he wanted to see Aspinall up against Jones. Afterwards, he said watching that Stipe fight up against Jones, that just because how much smaller Alex Pereira is, that fight made him to see how quickly John Jones disposed of Stipe Miocic, that he did not want to see Pereira fight. Here's what's going on. John Jones isn't a dummy. He does some stupid things, but he isn't a dummy. All right? He knows that there are some fans that want to see him fight Alex Pereira. Like a casual fan like me, I want to see him fight Alex Pereira. But the hardcore UFC fan, and the fight to make is Tom Aspinall first. So what he's doing here is actually smart. He's saying, Pereira, I have no interest in Aspinall, because he knows it will drive the price up for him. He's negotiating right now. So when you ask me, John Jones' next fight will be Tom Aspinall, not Alex Pereira? Absolutely. John Jones will eventually get into the octagon and go up against Tom Aspinall. That is an easy peasy on sides. Alrighty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Really quick, first 2 hours of the extravaganza. When we come on back, we will do a little no-huddle offense. We're calling an audible. We're doing a little Omaha. We are going to no-huddle offense, and then Dean Thomas is going to join us coming up at 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:20 p.m. Pacific for you fight fans. We'll recap UFC 309 with him and also get his thoughts on the joke that was Mike Tyson up against Jake Paul.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, away we go. Hour number 3 of our radio program. That's right. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Coming up 20 minutes from now, we recap UFC 309. We also talk about the Fugazi fight that we saw on Friday night between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. We'll do so with Dean Thomas. But first, we got to get to a little no-huddle offense, Week 11 style. Stu, you know the dealio. Hit it.
Touchdowns, sacks, upsets, and last-minute heroics. Another NFL Sunday is in the books, and we've got you covered with the biggest plays and sound bites from another wild week in the National Football League. It's time for No Huddle Offense on the Zach Gelb Show.
When we got to halftime between the Sunday Night Football game last night, the Chargers and the Bengals, and LA was up 24-6, I thought, okay, I'm going to be able to fall asleep some point in the third quarter. Well, I thought wrong, because going into the fourth quarter, it was Chargers 27, Bengals 20. And in the fourth quarter, Jamar Chase caught a touchdown pass early on to make it 27-27. And then it was missed kick after missed kick for the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Chargers did not want to capitalize until the end, where J.K. Dobbins, as they were basically in field goal range, said, night, night, we're going to win the game and go up 34-27 with under 20 seconds to go.
Hand off to Dobbins. And there goes Dobbins on his horse to the 20, to the 15, to the 10, into the end zone. Touchdown, Chargers. 29 yards. J.K. Dobbins with 18 seconds left.
J.K. Dobbins wasn't just kidding. He gets into the end zone, and the Chargers win the game 34-27. Joe Burrow for the Bengals had 356 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. His last 4 games, 13 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. They're 1-3. Yikes. T. Higgins, 9 for $148 and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 7 for 75 and 2 touchdowns. Justin Herbert, 297 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 65 rushing yards. And how about that lad McConkey? I would love to hear John Gruden just say, let me tell you what, man, that lad McConkey, he's just a winner, man. 6 for 123, had 2 big catches on that final drive that did set up the J.K. Dobbins winning touchdown. That lad McConkey, let me tell you what, man. All righty, Stu, what do we got here?
All right, do you think the Chargers are a legitimate Super Bowl contender in the AFC right now?
You know, we haven't mentioned them. Well, we know that they're good. Solomon Wilcots last week said, watch out for them. They could go to the Super Bowl this week, so give him credit. But it seems like the Super Bowl contenders right now, Chiefs, duh. Bills, duh. I don't think the Steelers will get there, but they're a contender. And then you still put the Ravens in there. I think after that, you know, I usually only like to go 3, but I just gave you 4. The Chargers, to me, here's the frustrating part, Stu. Do you walk away last night? I'll ask you a question. Do you walk away last night more impressed with the Chargers or more disappointed and frustrated with the Cincinnati Bengals?
I think it's still the Bengals. I just had such high hopes for this team, and the fact that they've managed to, like you mentioned, just the stats that Burrow is putting up in that offense, it's insane that they're 4-7.
It's crazy. And their 4 wins are against putrid football teams. So if you can't beat them, you don't deserve to live, quite frankly, in the NFL. But I walk away more disappointed with the Bengals last night. If the Chargers would have just continued the blowout, then, hey, look at what Harbaugh's done. You still feel this way. The offensive line, the way they run the football, the improvements on defense. But since the Bengals not only got back in the game, but they should have won it, I walk away saying WTF about the Bengals. I really do. So are the Chargers a legitimate Super Bowl contender in the AFC right now? I think they can win a playoff game. I think with Harbaugh, you don't want to play them come postseason time. But do I think they're going to a Super Bowl? Do I think they're going to an AFC championship game? I still think they're a year away. I still think they're missing something. So I'm going to say no. All righty, next up. How about this on Caleb Williams? You look at his last 4 games. He has not had a touchdown. He has not had an interception at all. So no interceptions, no touchdowns, passing or rushing. His last touchdown was on October 13th. He had 4 of them in the game up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not a touchdown or a pick since. Loss since then. And the crushing loss to the Commanders. Blown out by the Cardinals. You lose to New England, you don't even show up. And the crushing loss yesterday. You know what? Let's just do this. Let's hear the Cairo Santos game-winning field goal attempt. It was finally going to be a Bears victory up against the Packers. And then Green Bay said, oh, no, you didn't.
Here's the snap, placement made. The kick is blocked. It is blocked. It is blocked. And the Packers have won. Beautiful. It is blocked. Beautiful. It comes up short, and the Packers have won 11 straight over the Bears, 20-19. Oh my goodness, what a finish. Wow.
You know, if you would have told me yesterday that the Packers would only score 20 points and that Caleb Williams, even though he wouldn't score a touchdown, his numbers in the game would be 23 of 31 for 231 yards, and then he would add 70 rushing yards on the ground. I would say, oh, the Bears popped off on the ground, and that's where they got their touchdowns, which they did. You know, they had 34 carries for 179 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. All the numbers on the ground. I would have never thought that they would have lost that game. But the Bears just find new ways to lose. Jordan Love, 261 yards passing. passing touchdown, rushing touchdown, and a pick. Josh Jacobs, 134 total yards on the ground. And Josh Jacobs did find the end zone as well yesterday. And Christian Watson, 4 receptions for 150 yards. Odunze, 6 for 65. DJ Moore, 7 for 62. Keenan Allen, 4 for 41. So Packers, they go to 7-3. Bears fall to 4-6. And Stu, you have a question for me.
Yeah, can a case be made that the Packers are the second best team in the NFC?
Not after yesterday. No, even though they won. Philadelphia, to me, is the second best team in the NFC. You want to tell me the NFC North? All right, you can maybe make the case. Them or the Vikings. But I think the two best teams in the NFC, Lions 1, Philadelphia Eagles in at number 2. All righty, let's go to the game of the day yesterday. It's the Chiefs and the Bills. The Bills hand the Kansas City Chiefs their first loss of the season. Kansas City has now lost 4 in a row in the regular season, going up against the Buffalo Bills. Bills haven't been able to beat them, though, when it matters in the postseason. 4th and 2. This could go either way in this scenario. You could kick it, and then you got to go hold Mahomes out of the end zone, and you would have had, at that point, a 5-point lead in the game, or you go for it. I honestly, because I usually say I don't like to criticize people after the fact. It's what I think in the moment. In the moment, I go, it's close. It could go either way. I'm fine with them going for it. Even if they don't get it, then it's a 2-point game, and all Mahomes needs is a field goal, or you go for it and you try to end the game. Well, on 4th and 2, Josh Allen really said, I am him. I am the MVP. The game is over.
Allen going to step up in the pocket. Now he's going to take it and run, and he's got the first down and more. 10, 5, and muscles his way into the end zone for an unbelievable 26-yard touchdown run. Are you kidding me? He's a beast with a capital B, and he would not be denied.
This place is going nuts right now.
Usually when you're saying a capital B, I'm not usually hearing the word beast there. I'm hearing something else. That's just me, but I kind of like the call. Mahomes in the game, 23 of 33 for 196 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Kansas City only had 78 yards rushing. Their leading receiver was Xavier Worthy with 61 receiving yards. Josh Allen, 27 of 40, 262 yards through the air, a touchdown, a pick. Also had a rushing touchdown. He led the team in rushing. Buffalo, 31 carries for 104 yards, had 3 rushing touchdowns, as you did have James Cook get 2 of those rushing touchdowns in addition to Josh Allen's 1. Khalil Shakir, 8 receptions for 70 yards. Curtis Samuel did have a receiving score as well. And good performance by the Bills defense. Stu, what's the question here?
Do you think that this loss is actually good for the previously undefeated Chiefs?
No. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's bad. They could still win a Super Bowl. You'd rather win the game than lose the game. Don't tell me, they don't have to deal with the pressure of being undefeated. Come on. It's unlikely that Mahomes will ever win the tiebreaker up against Brady because Brady beat him in the NFC Championship game. The AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. So what could be the trump card over Brady if Mahomes doesn't get to 8 championships because Brady has 7 with those tiebreakers? Well, one would be an undefeated season. The other is still on the table. It would be winning 3 Super Bowls in a row, something Brady was not able to do. So is this loss actually good for the Chiefs? It takes the undefeated season off the table. So I'm not going to say that this is good for the Chiefs. I'm not saying, the sky is falling, knowing Kansas City's now screwed. But the Chiefs finally got what they deserved. And that's to lose the game. They should have lost the game a few weeks ago, but they kept on finding a way to win these improbable games. All right, let's get to the next game. I love to see this yesterday. The Jets are just such hot garbage. And a few of my friends at this Friendsgiving that I was at are big Jets fans. And it's amazing how confident they are. And how much smack they still talk. It's like, what are you talking smack about? Your team sucks. You have no championship. You have 1 championship, none in your lifetime. Your defense is overrated. And Anthony Richardson, the team gave up on him. They gave up on him, the Colts. They went to Joe Flacco. And then after 2 weeks of seeing those 2 losses, they went back to Anthony Richardson. And Richardson had a career-high 272 passing yards. He had a touchdown and 32 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. And Anthony Richardson was just on fire. Now, I asked this to Hickey yesterday, and he didn't appreciate this question. How do you think he answered it? Was yesterday's game more so Anthony Richardson being good or the Jets defense just being so overrated? How do you think he answered it, Stu?
100% that it was Anthony Richardson being good.
He did say, the Jets defense is overrated, but it's Anthony Richardson being good. If that's how you're going to plant the flag in the ground on having a franchise quarterback is judging how they play up against the Jets, that means you don't have a franchise quarterback. But Anthony Richardson did have a great game yesterday, so give him credit for that. Josh Downs, 5 for 84 and a touchdown. Alec Pierce, 3 for 74. Kwity Paye did have 2 sacks in the game. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, what a joke. 22 of 29 for 184 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. And the offense's first 5 drives in the game. No first downs and 27 yards. Yikes. Brees Hall, congratulations. He had 121 total yards and 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams, 6 for 72. Garrett Wilson, 4 for 18. The Jets, Jets. Just end the season. Could be saying that for the last 4 weeks. Oh, wait, I have been saying that for the last 4 weeks. Let's listen up. This is the game-winning touchdown run as Anthony Richardson says, night-night to the Jets.
Richardson out of the gun. He's going to take it off left edge. He's at the 5, cuts into the end zone. Bullies his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Anthony Richardson. His second rushing touchdown today. And the Colts, with the score right there, lead 28-27 with 46 seconds to go.
And Stu, I know I kind of already asked the question, but you know what? We're not in Indianapolis. Let me hear the question again.
Sure. Did Anthony Richardson prove that he will still be a legitimate NFL starting quarterback?
If you say that after one game, you're dope. Like, the thing with Anthony Richardson, we've seen him have a moment or two. Now he's got to have several moments. And no, after one game up against the GD trash Jets, I'm not going to sit here and say Anthony Richardson is now a legitimate franchise NFL starting quarterback. All right, you want to talk about a hot mess? We go from the Jets to the 49ers. Those two teams met up in week 1. They may both be golfing. The Jets are already golfing. The Niners may be golfing in a few weeks from now. They're 5-5, and they blew another one. It is crazy how they lost that game. I'm watching that game, and when they forced that stop on 4th and 1 with 4:01 to go, I go, okay, they're going to find a way to survive. Then they punt, and then Geno Smith marches down the field. It was mayhem. Geno. He went off and running, and he went off and running into the end zone.
Geno gets him back to the line of scrimmage, 22-21, gets the snap, looks, steps up, gonna run, 10, 5, Geno, touchdown!
Holy catfish!
Seahawks! Holy catfish!
Yeah!
Geno Smith runs left side, can't find anybody open from 13 out, 12 seconds left, and the Seahawks take the lead, 19-17. Are you kidding me? No quit in this bunch.
Clearly, when it was 17-13, a 4-point lead isn't insurmountable. But once again, when you get the turnover on downs, I'm thinking the Niners are going to go win the game. And Geno Smith with a holy catfish moment. 221 yards through the air. No passing touchdowns, a pick, but had 29 rushing yards and that rushing touchdown. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 10 catches for 110 yards. DK Metcalf, hopefully a future New England Patriot, 7 receptions for 79 yards. Tyler Lockett, 2 for 19. I do think the Pats are going to get T. Higgins, though, not DK Metcalf. Brock Purdy, yikes, 159 yards passing, a touchdown and a pick. 40 rushing yards with a rushing touchdown. Has 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in his last 4 games. Christian McCaffrey had 106 total yards. Jawan Jennings, 10 for 91 and a score. Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd had 1.5 sacks each. And the Seahawks, 0 touchdowns in 5 drives with Bosa. Then when Bosa went out of the game, 2 touchdowns in 3 drives without Nick Bosa on the field. Stu, what's the question?
All right. How concerned are you about Brock Purdy and the Niners?
Very concerned. I only think one team is going to make the postseason out of the NFC West. As I said before, Eagles will win the East. Lions will win the North. Falcons will win the South. Insert team that you want to pick to win the NFC West. And after that, I think your wildcard teams are Commanders, Vikings, and the Go, Pack, go! And I'm going to rock and roll with the Cardinals right now at 6-4. I think that the Arizona Cardinals are going to win the NFC West. But if they don't, I'll still take the Rams and the Seahawks over them. Niners of the field, I will go with the field. And I think the Niners are going to miss. I'm going to miss. They're going to miss the playoffs. Now, as for Brock Purdy, I'm not going to say I'm overly concerned. I just don't think he's a great quarterback. I think he's good. I think he's solid. I think you could win with him. He got to a Super Bowl last year. But I don't look at yesterday and say, hey, that's all on Brock Purdy. I don't. You know, they didn't have that game-winning drive when they were up by 4 and they had the defensive stop. And then the defense, even after making a stop, They allowed Geno Smith to walk through him like a hot knife does through butter, cut through him like a hot knife does through butter. So I'll answer your question that way. All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We recap UFC 309 and also the Fugazi fight between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson on the other side, and we do so with Dean Thomas.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
A lot was going on in football this past weekend, college and the NFL. Also, a lot was going on in the fight world as well. I was at UFC 309 at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, and you also had on Friday that Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight, which obviously didn't live up to the hype. Made a lot of money, right, for Tyson and Paul. But for anyone that thought that was actually going to be a fight, I don't know what you were expecting. So a lot to recap from the fight world from UFC 309, where John Jones once again asserts his dominance in the UFC octagon with what he was able to do with Stipe Miocic. So let's spend a few minutes talking about all the fights that we saw on Friday and Saturday with Dean Thomas, who is kind enough to join us right now. Dean, how you been, my friend?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. Let's start off with John Jones. That spinning back kick, I'm not going to lie. So I was on the bridge at Madison Square Garden, and when I first saw it and they called the fight, I'm like, wait, hold on. Now, I thought that was a quick stoppage, but then when you see the replay and you see the way the body moves, thank God that they called that fight because that was so impressive from John Jones.
Yeah, I mean, John Jones, that is one of his signature kicks. So let's not make no mistake about that. He's been throwing that kick for a long time. It happened to hit Stipe right where it counted, right in the rib cage. If it hit him, he thought he hit him in the liver. It hit him actually on the other side, but it was still in the rib cage. And Stipe folded. It's not a quick stoppage. I mean, Stipe would have probably wanted to get out of there anyway. I'm pretty sure he was happy that they stopped it when they did.
Now, here's the big thing with John Jones and his future. I think this is just a negotiation ploy right now. You mentioned Pereira, right? A lot of people would love to see the Pereira fight. The fight to be made, though, and Dana said it, is Tom Aspinall. I think why he keeps on bringing up Pereira is you're trying to negotiate a little bit here, and then eventually he will fight Tom Aspinall. Is that how you think this goes down?
I think so, but it's all going to be determined on what John does in these next couple of months because it's inevitable if he stays at heavyweight that he has to fight Tom Aspinall. He did mention that he would be willing to give up the belt to do a super fight against Alex Pereira. And I don't even think it would be a super fight. I think he could literally drop down to 1 or 205 and fight Alex Pereira for the belt. But he said he wanted to do it for the BMF belt. I don't think the UFC is interested in that. I think that UFC is interested in doing a heavyweight championship between Tom Aspinall and John Jones. Now, if John Jones is willing to give up the belt and go back down, that's one thing. But if he intends to stay at heavyweight, he's not bringing up Alex Pereira. He's not going to do any other fight other than Tom Aspinall. So this could be a negotiation tactic, or it could be true. Maybe, just maybe, John Jones is ducking Tom Aspinall.
Is that how you perceive that to be? Do you think that latter is the actual truth here, that he's just ducking him?
You know, that's what a lot of people think. I think, again, it's going to come down to these next couple of months and whether John Jones wants to stay at heavyweight. If he doesn't want to stay at heavyweight, then he's definitely ducking him. But, again, John Jones is the GOAT for a reason. John Jones is taking on all challengers, and I think he really, truly believes in himself. Then after that signature win that we saw on Saturday night, there's no reason to believe that he's ducking anybody. So it could be just a negotiation tactic. However, if it is a negotiation tactic, rumor has it, and I saw somewhere online, this is just pure speculation, and this number could be totally fabricated, that he made about $15 million. Now, if that's not enough to fight somebody, like I don't know what his number would be to fight Tom Aspinall and why it'd be a negotiation tactic. If he made $15 million to fight Stipe Miocic, what is he? I don't know. What does he want? $100 million to fight Tom Aspinall? Maybe that's the case, but there's no other reason why. Like I'll fight anybody for $15 million. So I don't know what the negotiation tactic would be to try to get a Tom Aspinall fight.
I know it's just so we don't even know when the fight would be. We don't even know the fight's going to happen. Who would you lean towards early, though, if we did get to see Tom Aspinall up against John Jones?
Tom Aspinall. And there was nothing that John did on Saturday night to make me think otherwise. Prior to that performance, I thought Tom Aspinall was the better fighter. After that performance, I'm even more convinced that Tom Aspinall is the better fighter. John Jones is the greatest, and he always shows up. He always performs. But let's make no mistake about it. Stipe was 42 years old, and he looked at the moment he stepped out there. John Jones handled him. He took care of him like he should have. But there was nothing that I saw in John Jones's performance that makes me believe that he could beat Tom Aspinall. Tom is just younger. He's faster. I think he's more skilled, and he's hungry. I don't think John Jones could beat Tom Aspinall, and I'm not just leaning towards Tom. I'm heavily favoring Tom in a fight between him and John Jones.
So does that mean then Tom Aspinall is the best pound-for-pound fighter on the planet? Because we know Dana would always say it's John Jones.
Well, I think we oftentimes confuse pound for pound with the greatest of all time. Like, John Jones is the GOAT. His resume speaks for itself. 15 title defenses. No one has even come close to that. So he is the GOAT, but that doesn't mean he's currently the pound for pound best fighter in the world. In fact, I don't even think Tom is. I think that title would probably go to Islam Makhachev or Ilya Topuria, and then Tom coming in at third. But Dana likes to sell John Jones as the GOAT and the pound-for-pound fighter. I think that's a marketing tool to make sure that John Jones showed up in Madison Square Garden and actually fought.
So let me just ask you this then, Dean Thomas. Because you think it's going to be clear that Aspinall defeats John Jones. John Jones would defeat Alex Pereira, in your opinion, or with how Alex just keeps on climbing up? How do you think that goes? Yeah.
No, I do think John Jones could beat Alex. Based on what I saw Saturday night, I still believe that he could beat Alex. He didn't look like he didn't. These guys, when they're younger, they're savages. And Alex isn't that young, though. So Alex and John Jones are about the same age. But I do think, based on John Jones' skill set, I do think that he could beat Alex. I think it will be a little closer than I originally thought, but I do still think that John Jones beats Alex Pereira.
Which fight would you rather see, though?
Personally, I would rather see the Alex Pereira fight because I think it would be closer. And based on what John has done in his career, listen, there's this contingency of MMA experts that believe that MMA fighters have to go out on a loss. And they want to, he didn't give us everything. I don't know where this comes from. I don't know where this comes from.
That's kind of stupid because, in the NFL, right, how many times do we talk about, this guy should ride off into the sunset with the championship? Not that way, though, in MMA.
No, they don't do that. They want our heroes to be carried out on a stretcher in their last fight and to pass the torch. I don't believe you have to pass the torch. I love what John Jones did in his career. He's done enough. He just beat the greatest heavyweight of all time. Allow this man to live his life. I don't want to see him go out on the stretcher to Tom Aspinall. I'd like to see him fight Alex Pereira. If Alex beats him, all right, at least it was a fair fight. If he goes out and fights Tom Aspinall, I don't consider that a fair fight. I think Tom is just too good right now. I don't believe that John Jones owes it to us as fans to go out on a loss to Tom Aspinall.
Wrap it up with Dean Thomas. So we saw Charles get the victory up against Michael Chandler. The back of the headshots I didn't love, but then he put on a little bit of a show at the end, having some fun in the last few seconds of that fight. When I look at Chandler, the whole thing's just kind of sad to me because he waited all that time for Conor McGregor. I never thought McGregor was coming on back, and then you get back in and it's another loss for him. How about that fight?
Chandler has given us what I think he's very capable of giving us, and that's entertainment.
Yeah.
Chandler's not a championship fighter. He's not a championship UFC level fighter. And that is to be able to win a championship and hold on to that consistently. I don't believe that Chandler was built for that. I think Chandler is built for exactly what he's given us. That is a lot of fun fights and a lot of hope. He's given us hope as fans. He's always showed up. He's always gave us the greatest sound bites. He's always made us smile. And I think that Chandler is better than one who became champion and then possibly, I don't know, these guys, when they become champions, they start wearing sunglasses in the club and they turn on us. And I think Chandler is better off not being a champion and being a stand-up guy who always gives us positivity.
McGregor's never going to fight him, right? I know he called him out
McGregor's never going to fight. No, McGregor's got so many legal troubles. I think he's going to be fighting in court for a while. So I don't see McGregor coming back. Maybe ever. I don't know if he ever comes back. And the way he conducts himself and the way I think that MMA needs to go, and particularly the UFC, I think we're better off without him at this point. You know, he was great for what he's done, but I think the UFC is better off without Conor McGregor.
And even if they schedule a fight, as a consumer of the product, and I'm not like a hardcore UFC guy, but I've enjoyed the sport a lot the last 4 or 5 years, and I keep on watching more and more and more. They could schedule a fight. To me, that means nothing until I actually see him walk into the octagon when they say, okay, let's go. Here's the main event. I just never anticipate him actually fighting again, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's going to do a lot of talking on the internet, on Twitter. He's a champion, and he's got his fans and people who are always going to believe in him, perhaps. But I just don't like his behavior or what he's done these last couple of years. And there's only so much and only so many times you can forgive somebody. Yeah. And we've been giving him the benefit of the doubt year after year after year. And what he did to Michael Chandler as a fighter is just criminal. To dangle that carrot in front of this man for 2 years it's despicable. And I'll never forgive him for that.
On the way out with Dean Thomas. So I talked to Dana White after the fight, the Bo Nickel fight too against Paul Craig. And I'm like, what did you make of the fans' reaction? Even when he won, they were booing him and they were chanting overrated. And he said, hey, Bo, he dominated the fight. You know, Paul looks a lot bigger than him. He even shared a conversation he had with President Trump, where President Trump said these guys are in the same weight class. But then he didn't dance around the topic. He said Bo's got a lot of work to do. And Bo knows he has a lot of work to do. What do you think the fighting future is of Bo Nickel with what you saw on Saturday night?
So Bo can be really good. Bo just has to make sure he continues to keep learning. He stays in camp, and he's got to make sure that he's around a lot of smart people that is going to teach him how to fight and teach him how to be a good fighter. And I don't like Bo's excuse of, oh, well, I only have 6 fights. Well, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't be where you are then, right? Like if you only have 6 fights, maybe you should have been back on the Contender Series. Maybe you should be on some prelims. Maybe you should have cut your teeth in the regional circuit a little bit, but you can't get these opportunities and then start complaining about you don't have enough experience, because one thing that I do know is he's got more competition experience than almost anybody in the UFC. And that is, he's a Hodge winner in wrestling. He's a multiple national champion. He's got so much wrestling experience, and that counts. That actually does count, because I've watched fighters Saturday night absolutely freeze in front of the Madison Square Garden crowd. Mauricio Hufi is the best fighter that fought on Saturday night, and he froze up because of the lack of competition experience under them circumstances. Bo Nickel doesn't do that. Bo Nickel has that experience. So him talking about only 6 fights, I'm throwing that out the window.
All right, I got to ask you about Tyson and Paul. I wasn't expecting much. I thought Jake Paul was going to win. What were your thoughts on what you got to see on Friday?
You know what? Prior to the fight, I was saying, I don't know how Jake Paul's going to knock this man out and then look into a camera and explain himself.
Yeah.
Thank God he carried Tyson throughout that fight, because that was the best possible scenario for him. If he lost the fight, he would have been a complete joke. He won the fight. He's still a complete joke to most people. But I blame the old school boxing guys for this. All the old school boxing guys who co-signed on this, who said, oh, Tyson, if he hits him one time, he's going to go down. No, it's those guys who co-signed on this that allowed this to happen in the first place. I don't expect regular fans to believe it, but all the old school boxing guys who co-signed on this, shame on you for allowing this to happen.
And you know that it wouldn't be a night for boxing without a controversial decision. How about the Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor fight?
Well, you know, Amanda Serrano knew what she was getting into, right? She knew that she was going to be dealing with somebody who's aggressive, who charges in like a bull, who headbutts. She should have known better, and they should have been prepared for that. And obviously they could have done things maybe differently in training to prepare for that, to maybe win a little easier. They didn't do it. So, and this is her second time fighting her. There's enough film study on Katie Taylor to know that that's how she fights. This is her second time fighting her. She should have known better and what she was getting into, and maybe did something a little bit differently in camp to lengthen that lead.
Dean Thomas, always enjoy your coverage and your work for the UFC. We appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this.
I appreciate you, man. Anytime.
You got it. There he is, the great Dean Thomas, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. A big weekend for fights, if you want to say that with what we saw on Friday, and then Saturday with UFC 309. So how about that? About Tom Aspinall. I don't even think it'd be close up against John Jones. And that's what Favola said, too. Favola said that he believes that Aspinall, when he joined us in studio, would obviously beat John Jones as well. And he even said he'd rather see the Pereira-John Jones fight because he thinks it'd be better. That's how much of a blowout he thinks that would be with Aspinall, who was the early favorite for a fight that's not even scheduled yet. But there's always a line for something somewhere if that fight does happen up against John Jones, which I do think it will. All righty, we will take a timeout. We got a few more things to get to on the other side. Sean Payton has done a heck of a job. The Bears are cursed. We'll get into all that when we return in 5 minutes. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the Giants come out of their bye week 2-8, and as expected, they're making a quarterback change, benching Daniel Jones in favor of Tommy DeVito. Jones has an injury guarantee that could play into this, as the Giants would be on the hook for $23 million guaranteed next year, while DeVito led the Giants to a 3-game winning streak last year, which also took them out of the running for the quarterback they desired in the draft. Bengals corner DJ Turner will get a second opinion, but he likely suffered a season-ending broken collarbone. The Jaguars, Gabe Davis is done for the year with torn meniscus in his knee. The Cowboys look to halt a 4-game skid when they host the Texans in the Monday night matchup. Houston has dropped back-to-back games, but that hasn't hurt the confidence of C.J. Stroud.
I'm not just a game manager. I can be a game changer, and, sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. And for me, I'm going to keep the swag, and kind of just like what I told y'all last year, like, Steph Curry can go 0 for whatever, but he's going to keep shooting. So, that's for me. I'm going to just keep shooting.
Nico Collins returns after missing 5 games with a hamstring injury. Tom Herman out at FAU after going 6-16 in 2 years and 0-6 in the AAC. And baseball's Rookies of the Year will be announced shortly. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Oh, this is a good question. Adam in Erie says, Zach, you always usually find yourself to be meeting famous people. Did you meet anyone famous at UFC 309? It's a good question. You could submit a question by tweeting at INFSportsCenter or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. All righty, Stu. Do you think I met anybody famous at UFC 309? A lot of people in that building, by the way.
I would say yes.
All right. I'll give you the name. You tell me if you think I met that person or not at
Okay.
UFC 309. President Donald Trump.
I would say no.
I did not. The Don and I were not hanging out. RFK Jr.
I would say no.
I did not meet RFK Jr., but I have met him before. I got invited to the Big Three League when they were once at Brooklyn, Ice Cube's league, and they had me sitting courtside, and he was there that day. So I met him once in passing. Vivek. You think I met him?
I'll say yes.
Did not.
Okay.
Triple H.
Yes.
Did not meet him. The governor of the PIF Fund in Saudi Arabia who was there. Yasser.
I'll say no.
I would have asked him for some money, honestly. But no. Kid Rock.
Yes.
Did meet Kid Rock.
Nice. All right.
Who one of our intro songs.
That's right.
From the Overnights. Kid Rock. I don't know this for a fact, Stu. I could only assume, though. Could only assume by the state that he was in. Kid Rock, obviously a good friend of Dana White. He comes into the post-match, post-fight press conference with Dana, sits down, and let's just say he was shouting out a lot of things during the press conference. And he would just provide a lot of commentary based off what Dana would say. And Kid Rock was sitting not that far away from me. And I had a little conversation with Kid Rock. But I'm just going to assume assume, because, I'm a people's person, right? Still, I think I could usually pick up and read people. I'm going to assume Kid Rock had quite a few things to drink at that event. That's all I'm going to assume. And I did see before the fight, he was asking to be part of the cabinet, and it was like Trump's liquor cabinet. So I think that is a fair assumption that Kid Rock had a few pops at UFC 309. A buddy of mine said to him, hey, can I take a picture with you? And Kid Rock goes double birds in the photo. So my friend goes, I got to take another photo. And then he put up the middle finger as well. So Kid Rock was the celebrity that I met. It was not President Donald Trump. It was not RFK Jr. Oh, Elon Musk? You think I met him?
I feel like you would have led with that, so I'll say no.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Elon Musk. I would have said, hey, can we boost up my funds a little bit? Will you pay me for Twitter? For all these tweets I put together? Can we add a few zeros there, Elon? And I would have said, oh, Jim says hello, by the way. On behalf of the Infinity Sports Network, the franchise Jim Rome, he does say hello. I would have thrown that in there as well. All righty. Let's end the show on the Broncos. I'll also say the Bears are just cursed. All right, if you're a Bears fan there, Stu, yesterday, and you've had some terrible, and I mean terrible, losses, with the Raiders. At least the Raiders, they gave you that one moment against the Patriots where Mac Jones and company threw the ball and then it ends up going for a touchdown. At least you had that.
That's right.
I'm like, what's the Bears moment? And I say, when did the Bears ever have a moment? Just this year, you had the Fail Mary, and now you're driving. Caleb Williams comes alive in the final drive. All right, this is the franchise quarterback. We got rid of that the stench of Shane Waldron. We're going to be all right. We got a quarterback. We're good. We're going to be okay. And then here comes the kick. Blocked. Right? The only thing to say, and I don't usually like to say this, but if you're a Bears fan, you got to feel like you're cursed. They're never going to get this right. They may never beat the Packers again. I don't think they're ever going to beat the Packers again. Aaron Rodgers was, he owns the Bears. I own you. No, it's not you, Aaron. It is the Green Bay Packers owning the Chicago Bears. Like, Stu, how do you even process a loss like that? I usually say ice cream. I just find a way to cool off the body and feel better. But you're more of an expert on that than me. So speak to the Bear fan. Talk about the ledge a little bit. Like, step back from that ledge, my friend. What do you got for the Bears fan?
Yeah, it has to be food related, I think. And if it's not food related, then
little special brownie, you thinking?
Yeah, or just, at that point, I guess that was in the early window. I was going to say, if that was in that second window, like that 4, like I've been in a position before where the Raiders have had bad losses in that second window, that 4:30 Eastern time window. And I'm just like, all right, I'm done. I don't care about the Sunday game. I'm just going to go to bed.
Too much football on to just bypass the rest of the slate.
Yeah, at that point, you still have the 4 o'clock window with the Chiefs and Bills. So that's kind of tough. But if it was later, I would say, all right, maybe just stop watching the football for today.
Alcohol. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe hit up our friend Brian in the YouTube chat too. Get something to make your mind go away from the block field goal that happened when you thought you were going to win. Okay, now finally, Sean Payton. I got to give him credit. He annoys me. The last 2 years, I've not been a fan of his. I think he's arrogant, but the guy's a damn good football coach. He is a damn good football coach. This team has no business being 6-5, if we're being honest. When he drafted Bo Nix in the top 15, 12th overall, I thought he was crazy. And I thought we were going to have a moment this year, Stu. And it's weird. I don't dislike Bo Nix. He's easy to root for. He does everything the right way, right? He's a pro-ready quarterback, all that stuff. And it's kind of crazy that the guy that we saw at Auburn is now playing as well as he has been in the NFL. But I've been waiting all year, not for him to fail, because that makes me seem as if I'm rooting for him to suck, but just for him to have a really bad interception where I could tweet out, oh, Bo Picks, because it's such a good nickname. And I sometimes evaluate things based off what makes good content. And I think a Zach Gelb rant with calling him Bo Picks would be intriguing content. But that Falcons secondary, they're no slouches. They're very good secondary. And I know the Falcons were on the road, but how they weren't even competitive in the game is embarrassing. And I know people look at it, oh, the Falcons they're going to win their division, but what about an overrated team? I'm not even evaluating it from the lens of what the Falcons didn't do right. It's what the Broncos did right in this game. And Sean Payton had that defense humming. Their offense was unbelievable. Bo Nix, 28 of 33, 307 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. Caleb Williams hasn't had a touchdown in 4 or 5 weeks. Look what Bo Nix was able to do up against a Falcons team where they're not great, but they're not bad. They're fine. They're good. It is amazing how lopsided that game was and how much of an ass-kicking that was. Now, I'll put you on the spot here, Stu. 6-5. Give me the win-loss count for the Broncos the rest of the year.
Okay.
What do you think, before I give you the schedule, how many wins do you think? They have 6 right now. How many think you get at the end of the year?
I think they'll get 9.
Okay. Raiders.
They'll beat the Raiders.
It always works this way. We always do win-loss with Stu, and it's always the Raiders. All right, so that's 7. Browns.
They'll beat the Browns.
That's 8. Colts.
Yeah, they could beat the Colts, too. That's 9.
Mm-hmm. At the Chargers.
I'll say that's a loss.
At the Bengals.
I mean, at that point, the Bengals might...
What are you playing?
Not playing for nothing, so I'll say they'll beat the Bengals.
And then the Chiefs.
Loss, so that's 10.
Yeah, I get the 10 wins.
Wow.
So, in the AFC playoff picture, if I was just to do this real quickly. So, the Bills are going to win the AFC East. I guess now you got to say the Steelers, even though it's not a lock, but they beat the Ravens. The Steelers win the AFC North. The Texans win the South. The Chiefs are going to win the West. Your wild card teams in the AFC. Baltimore? Is it the Chargers and the Broncos? I don't think it's going to be the Dolphins. I don't think it's going to be the Bengals. I know the Colts are 5-6, but go beat a real team. Yeah. Chargers 7-3. They could get 3 more. Broncos, we just laid it out. They get 4 more. You're going to see your wild card teams in the AFC. Ravens, Chargers, Broncos. Right? Do you think there's another team that we should throw in there still?
That's hard to argue. I don't see another one.
And even if the Ravens won the division, the Steelers
would be the other one, yeah.
I don't believe in the Dolphins. The Jets, please. They have 3 wins. Indy, they got some talent, but I can't trust Richardson. So, and the Bengals, please. Stop telling me what the Bengals can do. Until the Bengals get back to 500, I don't take them seriously. I don't. They're 4-7. You are what your record says you are. All right. Bill Parcells, I'm out. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Fun show today. Big thanks to each and every one of you for checking on in. I'd also like to thank Vernon Davis and Dean Thomas. Sam Stu, thank you. We'll talk tomorrow. Matt Leinert's going to join us. We'll get rocking and rolling at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.